We hold these truths to be self-evident, that all men are created equal.
And they are the very people telling the black man that he ought to lift himself by his own bootstraps. And this is what we are faced with.
Black civics. Black civics.
Understand that what we are doing here, I haven't really seen anywhere else.
Black civics.
We demand a new deal for Black America. There are specifics in there in terms of what that Black agenda looks like.
This is a reality. Now, when we come to Washington in this campaign, we're coming to get our check.
Black Civics is an educational program dedicated to supporting the ADOS community through podcasts, videos, and courses that will elevate our civic awareness. Together, we discuss politics and government, public policy, political activism, and much more, all in a way that's easy to understand and helps you learn. Black Civics is brought to you by Kimberly Renee Davis, Tony Blunt, and Chris Lodgson.
Peace. What's up? What's going on? Peace to the Black ADOS family. What's going on? Shout out to the Black Civics family. What's up? Hope all is good. Today is Tuesday, November 3rd, election night 2020. Wow, we are finally here. We're finally here after all of the primaries, all of the debates, all of the campaigning, all of the everything. We are finally here at election night 2020. Welcome everybody to Black Civics. I am your host, Chris Lodgson, here to bring you the election night 2020 Black Civics watch party, featuring a plethora, a smorgasbord, a variety of guests that are going to bring you top-notch quality, Black-centered political analysis for you tonight. I am here in Sacramento, California, as the sun sets here. We are just getting started here. We will have an amazing panel coming on for you today. I already have a couple of guests here, but before I get into anything, I do want to say big shout out to my Black Civics co-hosts, Tony Blunt, Kimberly Renee Davis. What's up, fam? Also want to give a shout out to our production assistants today. We got Lucretia Burtz working the production assistant today. Also Chanel with ADOS at Atlanta. Working the comments, helping us moderate today. We've got a great show today. Also got my co-host here with me, Mark Stevenson. What's up, Mark?
Hey, what's going on, fam? What's up, everybody? ADOS family, what's happening with all of you guys? I'm excited to be here, Chris. You know, I'm in Ohio. We're battleground, and it's going down. Let's see what happens tonight.
It's going down. Actually, some polls are already starting to close. We are going to get right into it, but before we do, want to welcome everybody once again. This is our first election night watch party for Black Civics. Really, the purpose of this effort is to give you Black folks, ADOS folks, another place to go, another way to watch election night coverage from our perspective, right? So a lot of times we get the CNN perspective, we get the MSNBC perspective, we may get, the Young Turks perspective or the Hill Rising perspective, but we don't have a Black ADOS perspective of these election results as they come in. So this is our first of many attempts to bring you that kind of coverage from our perspective. So you should feel at home today. Use the comments, use the chat, like, share, and subscribe this from wherever you're watching. We're streaming on 3 platforms, if I'm not mistaken: YouTube, Twitter, Facebook. Share it, like it, start a watch party, start the comments, What's going on, fam? I see everybody in the comments already making some great comments. What's up, Nick? What's up, everybody? What's going on? Appreciate everybody for joining. This is a conversation with us as Black folks, as ADOS folks here today to discuss, one, a very important election, and then two, to talk about what happens after the election, right? Where do we go from here? But really, that's why we're here today, is to give you another perspective, our own perspective of what the election results mean and what the future of Black politics holds for Black folks, for ADOS folks, American descendants of slavery here in these United States. I'm super, super excited. Like I said, we have an all-star panel coming up. We will have live election results with that all-star panel, correspondents coming in from all across the country in key 2020 battleground states. We'll also discuss the U.S. Senate, the House, how important they are to the future of what we call the Black agenda, to reparations as well. We'll talk about some important local and state ballot initiatives too, and much, much more. But before we get into the real discussion here, I want to introduce one other member of our panel today. You know him from Be the Power fame. What's up, Josh?
What's going on, Chris? How you doing, bro?
Good, man. Great to have you here. Thank you for joining. We will also have joining in a few minutes representatives from Politics in Black. We will have Friday Jones coming in from Politics in Black. We will have other members of the Be the Power fam jumping in as well. Of course, we've got my esteemed co-host, Mark Stevenson here. Mark, you want to say anything, man?
Hey, man. Hey, what's up, Josh, man? What's going on, fam?
What's going on?
Hey, I see the chat is blowing up right now. Hey, share this with everybody, man. Share this with your family. Hey, share this. Let's get people on. You know, they don't have to look at MSNBC and CNN and Fox News to get the news. This is the new Black media right here. So they can come right here to the Black Civics podcast tonight and get all the election results, because we're gonna get into some truths about us as ADOS people and the future of Black politics. So I'm excited to see what we do tonight.
Right on. And same here. Mark is in Ohio, a key battleground state, which we are definitely going to talk about today. Ohio is a very, very important state, as are several others. We have our eye on particularly Pennsylvania. We have our eye on North Carolina. We have our eye on Florida. We have our eye on Wisconsin, Michigan, Georgia as well, and several other states that we know and we believe are going to be key to deciding the 2020 election. So stay tuned, buckle up. Let's set the scene though before we go any further into this discussion here. Let's set the scene really and talk about what we know so far. So going into election day, coming into today, Tuesday, November 3rd, 2020, over 100 million people have already cast their votes. So before the day started, we had over 100 million people already cast our votes. I voted earlier today. I'm sure everyone else here, voted as well. I chose to vote down ballot, and we're going to talk about what that means as well. That's among the topics for discussion today. But over 100 million votes have been cast so far coming into election day. Also coming into election day, from every single national poll we've seen, Donald Trump is trailing Joe Biden in the national polls, and in most, if not all, of the key battleground state polls. As you know, as a country, we elect presidents state by state, not nationally. But just to set the scene and frame the discussion, we are coming into an election day where Donald Trump is trailing some 7, 8, 9 points in several of the national polls. In several of the key battleground polls, he is either within the margin of error or outside of the margin of error, trailing in most of those polls as well. So Donald Trump is coming into the game the underdog, and that is going to matter because we found ourselves, we think, in a similar situation in 2016. So, let's get right into it. To the panelists. Mark, I'm gonna throw it to you first, and then Josh, I'm gonna throw it to you after that. polls do show Biden with a lead in almost all of the battleground states and also nationally. Are the polls wrong? And if so, why?
I think they I think they are. And the reason why I think they are is because what I've been seeing from these exit polls is that you have the country is probably split about into thirds now. And it's no longer you can say that this is a Democratic stronghold, whether it's a Republican stronghold. You have a silent, a rising silent majority, which is the independent vote, and because of that, those people they don't get polled. They don't get polled. Usually, if an independent gets polled, chances are they're not going to ask. They're not going to say who they're voting for. So you get skewed numbers. And if we go back to 2016, this was the exact same thing that happened. Nobody expected the independents to lean heavy towards Trump. So I'm looking at the exit polls right now. Um, I'm seeing 50% of people are saying that the economy is doing well. Maybe 52% are concerned about the coronavirus. So it's going to be a lot closer than people think. It's not going to be this landslide victory for Joe Biden if he wins. It's going to be close, and it may be closer than what people tend to believe. Now, in my personal opinion, I probably, if I had to be bet right now, I'm probably about 52 to 48% confident that Trump is going to keep the presidency, but I'm probably about 60% sure that the Democrats are going to take the Senate. So you can take that how you want it, but I just know here in Ohio, uh voter turnout was tremendous. We doubled, um we doubled the numbers as far as from early voting to actual votes from 2016. That number doubled, but 84% of the people that voted today were white, and about 60% of them, I mean 40% of them, identified as being Republican. So
Wow.
you take that however you want to take it. About it actually was probably about 20% recognized themselves as being liberals, and the other 40% said that they were independents. So it's going to come down to that independent vote, and we'll see what happens.
So, Mark, So, Mark, you raised a bunch of great points. You talked about turnout, which is something that we definitely want to talk about. But, Josh, I do want to get you on record. Also, one, are the polls wrong, saying that Joe Biden is going to win, and if so, why? And also, before you answer, I want to welcome in my good brother Ali. Welcome, fam. Shout out to you.
Peace, brother.
We have, like I said, an amazing all-star panel that's going to be joining us today from Be the Power, from Politics in Black, from ADOSCA Media, as well. So I want to welcome in you, Ali. Josh, it's on you.
Thank you.
Are the polls wrong? And if so, why?
All I can do is just go by like the what I've been seeing, hearing, and conversations that I've been having with people, and because obviously there's, like Brother Mark brought up some great statistics, so I'm going to come from a different approach, and I'm looking at it like it seems like people have grown to be out of touch with, in any other situation, you would see that Trump would have a presidency that should have disqualified him from even consideration from moving forward for another term. But people have grown immune or numb to that. People overlook COVID. They've overlooked so many things. And the vibe I've been seeing and feeling is that people just are not moved enough by Joe Biden presidency. So I think the issue is not so much that Trump has been terrible. It's just that what does Joe Biden offer as an alternative, and is other than being a warm body that can get Trump out. And I just don't think that fires up enough people. So now I think the polls are going to be off, and even though the polls are going to be off, I think it's going to be closer. I don't think they're going to be off tremendously. So I'm picking. I was going back and forth with this, man. For real, I want to make a pick, But because you asked, I'm gonna make a
We're
pick.
gonna put you on the spot soon. Don't make a pick yet. We're gonna put you on the spot very, very soon.
All right, all right.
Let me throw it to Ali. Same question for you, fam. Are the polls wrong? And if so, why?
Well, it's for me, it's interesting because I really don't pay attention to polls too much, right? But in this particular instance, so far, the race seems to be going the same way it went when he ran against Hillary Clinton. So we'll see. But what I do see that's interesting is that Biden seems to be up in Florida and in Georgia. Now these are two red states, but we'll see what happens because right now you're looking at like 3% reporting in Georgia, but 43% reporting in Florida. So that's very interesting, especially with the Cuban presence who very heavily lean in favor of Trump. So we'll see what happens. But I mean, I don't know. I don't pay attention to the polls, bro. That's just me,
Yeah, you're not alone. I think a lot of people, especially after 2016, gave up on the polls, gave up on even believing what the polls said. Even though if you go back to 2016, the polls weren't as off as we sometimes think they were. There were several polls that showed that the race was a lot closer than we thought it was going to be, and I think it was hard for us just in our own minds to believe that Donald Trump would become president. So there was that too. So let me let me pause here though. We do have some breaking news coming in. My producers are telling me that there are some projected calls in states already. So some polls are already closing. And according to the Associated Press, they are projecting Joe Biden, and hold on, let me get that right. Joe Biden to win Vermont and Trump to win Kentucky. No surprises there, right? Vermont, northeastern New England state, very, very heavily, blue, very, very heavily Democratic. No surprise there. Kentucky, Midwest, a state that is reliably, red for the GOP. So breaking news, fam. You heard it here first on Black Civics. We have two projected calls already in two states. Biden is projected to win Vermont. Trump is expected to win Kentucky. We are about 10 minutes away from polls closing in a number of key states. They include Georgia, Indiana, South Carolina, Virginia, North Carolina, Ohio, and West Virginia. So we're up about 10 minutes away from polls closing in several of those key states. But once again, you heard it here first. The Associated Press is projecting that Joe Biden wins the state of Vermont and Donald Trump wins the state of Kentucky. So the first results in the 2020 election are in, and we are on our way here to discuss those results. Mark, you brought up a great point just a minute ago. Turnout. We're in a COVID-19 world. What have you been seeing in terms of turnout where you are in the great state of Ohio? And how has it been different or the same from years past? And what do you think, the implications are of any increase or decreased turnout for Joe Biden or for Donald Trump?
Well, I think for the state of Ohio is if you put it in historical context, since 1960, no president has won the presidency without winning Ohio. JFK was the last president to win the presidency without carrying our state. The interesting thing about our state this year was because of COVID, our Secretary of State sent out absentee ballots to every registered voter that was already in the state. So you could mail back in your absentee ballot application and they'll send it out to you and you just mail that back. So they gave everybody the ability to vote. A lot of people didn't vote in 2016 here in the state of Ohio. And Trump is very popular here. He's very popular here. It's a blue collar state. It's steel industry. We have a lot of plants here. Union jobs. those people look at the economy based on their pockets, right? They look at everything based on, do they got a job? And a lot of people are not, you know, for the lack of better term, Democrats control 7 cities in the entire state, and that's where the population centers are. But it's these small pocket centers on the outside, the suburbs, where Donald Trump is going to do pretty well tonight. So, I'm curious to see what the numbers are in Ohio. Usually we're a late state to call because we always are close. But they started counting ballots early this morning, so we should be getting some early returns at 7:30, and it's gonna be interesting to see what happens with it. So, I can't call Ohio because I know that we're split. And
Right.
so it's going to be interesting. I just need to see what the turnout is going to be in the 7 cities that control pretty much, and it's going to really depend on what happens down in Cincinnati more than anything. If Cincinnati leans red, like his government does, then Trump is going to win Ohio. Because there's just not enough Democrats in the other 6 cities to make up for it. So it's going to be
Right.
interesting.
Yeah, no, definitely, definitely interesting. I mean, I know we've seen in places like Ohio, places like Texas, record-breaking turnout. Even before today, we saw some numbers in Texas and some parts of Texas, 100% turnout. 115% turnout over what the numbers were in 16 just going into election day. So turnout's going to be a big deal here. Obviously, we are in a very different way of voting. Many people are, doing mail-in voting for the first time, early voting for the first time because of the pandemic. Josh, I want to throw it to you. Have you seen any differences in turnout where you are? What was it like? For you to go through the voting process. Or was it long lines? Was it, did you mail your vote in? What was the turnout experience for you where you are? You are muted, fam.
Yeah, it was long lines, man. My wife and I both, my bad on the mute. My wife and I both voted early. We went and voted early last week. I believe I voted either Tuesday or Monday or Tuesday of last week. And man, the lines were crazy. We both waited in the line probably like an hour and a half at least. I was looking in the line. I was just trying to gauge it. And I live in Northern Virginia, right outside of Washington D.C. So it's pretty blue in this area. Now, if you move, go maybe 30, 45 minutes out of the way further west, maybe hour south, it may be a little bit different as far as it's way more Trump supporters. It gets red as you get to more closer to Richmond and into rural Virginia. But in Northern Virginia, it's pretty blue. But I was surprised that, I saw a lot of people grabbing the Republican sheets, to look at and learn how to go down your ballot and vote Republican. So, but the line was crazy. I was looking at all the different places to vote early, and all of the wait times were projected to be long at pretty much every day. So there was a lot of turnout last week, and I'm sure it's crazy today. I live right near a voting center. I could actually walk to it. So I was debating even going through that process, but I didn't want to risk it. I didn't want to risk it and have to be caught up with being in tight enclosures with COVID, or, I didn't want to play around. So I voted early, but everywhere I went, the turnout was crazy.
Yeah, I think we've seen pretty much that same sort of sentiment in most of the places. I mean, just here in California, it's a little bit different. We are a state that has been doing mail-in voting statewide for a number of years, so it's a little bit different here. But what you just described, Josh, is the experience that I think a lot of folks who are on the East Coast and also in the Midwest and even parts of the Southwest, are experiencing, especially since we are dealing with a a voting system or a new way of voting because of all of the precautions around the pandemic known as COVID-19. Ali, I want to throw it to you, but before I do, just want to remind folks, um, uh, like, share, please comment as well. We want to hear from you. What was your voting experience like as well? What was the turnout like where you were as well? Also, our first question was, do you think the polls are wrong? Do you think Donald Trump is going to pull off an upset win? Are the polls wrong, and why? All right, Ali, talk to us about what the turnout was where you were, or just your overall voting experience this year.
Well, the turnout has been amazing, particularly with the with the early voting. I'm a registered voter in the state of New Jersey, even though I'm in New York, but I'm registered as a voter in New Jersey. So I actually have two residences. But yeah, the turnout has been amazing in both states so far. Just in New York City alone, it's been like close to 4 million in early voting. New Jersey was something over 2 million, close to 3 million early vote. What I did was I did the ballot drop. Like, the way they have it set up is you can drop your ballot. You can either do it by mail, or if you want, you can drop it off at the municipal building, county buildings, whatever. So I just dropped my ballot in the box, at the municipal building where I'm registered to vote. And, pretty much it was a very easy process. It wasn't, crowded or anything like that. So for me, it was an easy decision. Just like what Josh was saying, you really have to consider COVID in terms of being in close quarters with other people, touching the machines and everything like that. So basically, I just filled out the ballot that came in the mail and dropped it. So it was pretty simple for me.
Yeah, same. I think most of us had the same experience. I know there was a lot of concern going into this year's voting with respect to the post office, right? We had that whole couple of months where we were going crazy with the post office. We had there have been over 300 lawsuits surrounding the 2020 election so far with respect to voting. So there were questions about some thousands of votes not counting in Texas. Here in the state of California, we had a couple of stories around some non-official drop boxes being set up by the California Republican Party, and so there was a big issue around that. One thing to say though is that there are places and there are states where even if you didn't register to vote, even if you aren't registered to vote, you can register same day as well. And those states are, just so folks know, are California, Colorado, Connecticut, DC, Hawaii, Idaho, Illinois, Iowa, Maine, Maryland, Michigan, Minnesota, Montana, Nevada, New Hampshire, Utah, Vermont, Washington, Wisconsin, and Wyoming. These are the states where you could walk in same day and register to vote. So if you hadn't met in your ballot, if you hadn't walked it in, if you hadn't put it in a drop box, this is something that you could walk in and do the same day in those particular states. Obviously, obviously a couple of those states, in particular Vermont, or such as Vermont, is already closed, polls already closed. That state is already called. And as we said, for those who are just joining us, the Associated Press has projected Joe Biden to win the states of Vermont and Trump to win the state of Kentucky. So right now, as we're pretty much about 1 minute away from polls closing in about 10 other states, Joe Biden is the winner in Vermont, and Donald Trump is the winner in Kentucky. As we've gotten some of the exit polls coming out of some of these states as well, we've seen that Joe Biden is leading in places like Georgia so far. So that's a state that we're going to keep an eye on. Polls closed in Georgia pretty much right now, if I'm not mistaken. So, things are close. That's the state of the race right now. Let's, as we come up to the 7:30 mark here, and as polls start to close in states like Georgia, like Indiana, South Carolina, Virginia, North Carolina, Ohio, West Virginia, some of these key East Coast and Southern states, as we come up on the 7:30 hour, let's talk about let's talk about this early, because this is something that I think we want to at least introduce now, the concept of voting down ballot. Okay, so myself, I went into the voting booth today. I actually voted today. I filled out my voter card today, and I left the top of the ticket blank. I didn't vote for Donald Trump. I didn't vote for Joe Biden. And then I proceeded to vote for every single California state proposition, all 10 or 12 of them. I voted in every single local city council proposition, all 3 of them. I voted for every single local race that I knew the candidate in, and that I had knowledge about what the candidate's history was and what their agenda was. But I left the top of the ticket blank. Okay? Generally, that's what you might describe as voting down ballot. So one, is that something that anyone else here on the panel has done, did today, or did when they voted? And 2, what was the rationale for doing that? And actually, I want to start with you for this one, Josh. 1, did you vote down ballot? And 2, what was your rationale for doing so or for not doing so?
Yeah, of course I voted down ballot. And of course, I mean, look, I just said I'm voting my conscience. That's what my conscience led me to do. And we have some important things on our ballot that I thought, and this is why I felt like we stressed. Number 1, we have a congressional focus. Number 2, people need to show up because there's some serious things that may be on your ballot that need to be addressed, that you need to, take your place in those affairs, right, to vote on. And one of them was dealing with basically gerrymandering is a huge issue nationwide, and it is an issue in Virginia. So it was a measure on the ballot talking about redistricting and allowing not only the legislators of the state to have the full discretion in redistricting, but also giving it to having some citizens make the decision. So I thought it was very important. But as far as voting the lesser of 2 evils, Jim Crow Joe Biden, or the devil Donald Trump, I mean, I had to pick between the devil and Satan, and I couldn't. I left that top of the ticket. Let that do what it do.
Smart man after my own heart. Ali, I want to come to you. Vote down ballot. 1, is it something that you did this year? If so, why not? And what's your overall thoughts on that as a political strategy?
Well, actually, I did vote down ballot this year, and pretty much for the same reasons that we all know. Basically, we have 2 candidates on the ballot in the Democratic Party who we really didn't want there. Now we have to be honest about that. We didn't want these people there. For me, there were a number of problems with Biden. Obviously, I'm not going to vote for Trump. So to me, Biden just didn't speak to the things that I feel we needed him to speak to. Same thing with Kamala Harris. She didn't either. And for me, that's very important. If you want my vote, you have to speak my language, and they just weren't speaking my language. Just keeping it real simple. Both of their records were very problematic. We all know that. We've heard it from the time of the primaries moving forward. We've heard just about everything we could about these people, from his record in the Senate, hers as Attorney General and as prosecutor in San Francisco. We know what they were about. We know who they are, right? And they were pretty much unapologetic in it. So it just they for me it just didn't resonate, man. I couldn't do it. You know, like you say, voting your conscience. The ballot is sacred. The vote is a sacred thing, and you can't just throw that away just because, or just because you want to toe the line. Now, if he wins, he wins. You know, we still press forward with our particular politics. We have to do that regardless of who's in office. So that's my position. Like brother Josh said, our focus is congressional because we need a reparations bill passed. We know that, and none of these people are willing to speak to that. So at the end of the day, we have to put pressure where we need to put pressure. That bill is going to have to come out of Congress, and that's where the pressure needs to be.
Facts, all facts. Mark, before I throw it to you on the down ballot, did you do it? And what's your thoughts on it? Before I go to you, one, I do want to remind the family in the chat, like, share, everything that you're seeing here. Also, let us know what your responses are and your answers are to some of these questions. Are also right. Are the polls wrong? Right. That's our first question. Are the polls wrong? If so, why not? Secondly, what was your experience voting? What was your impression of the turnout? Also, down ballot, right? Voting down ballot. What did you vote down ballot this year? And what do you think about voting down ballot as a strategy for Black folks when we are faced with, as we have been talking about, the lesser of two evils? So let us know what you think. This is a community conversation, so we want to make sure that we are speaking with you as Black folks, as ADOS folks here in the community. Mark, vote down ballot. Did you do it, and what do you think about it?
Yes, yes, yes. It was down ballot for me. It was, matter of fact, it was down ballot for me, my wife, and my son. That's the way we, we sat down as a family. This was my son's first time voting in a major election. He voted back in May. I mean in April for our primaries. So he got an opportunity to do that. But this was this was we sat down as a family, and when we sat down as a family, we went through each individual candidate. And the biggest thing is, because me and my son are both activists, the biggest thing for us is how do we feel about these parties when it comes to activism and the work that we're doing on the ground here in Ohio. And we just couldn't see it. We just couldn't see it. And Ohio is tricky because there were other candidates on the ballot that were Democrats that we couldn't support them either. One particular race was a Supreme Court seat. That's it's going to be I'm going to be paying attention to that one tonight, because the Democrats decided to put a prosecutor on the ballot that did not prosecute cops in a case that became a documentary called 137 Bullets. So they put him on the platform, knowing that this was the second time that he had been on the ballot, and Black folks here in Ohio rejected him the first time. And so you had massive amounts of clergy, Black clergymen, and telling their parishioners not to vote for this man because of that particular case. And if y'all don't know what happened in that case, it happened up in Cleveland. Give you a little backstory. It happened in Cleveland back in 2012. It was two homeless Black folks. They were in a car, got into a police chase, and the cops in that case, 6 of them shot 137 bullets into the car and killed both of them. So it became a documentary. It was a huge case. And the prosecutor is the guy that wants to be on the bench right now. And he had an opportunity at that point to prosecute these police officers, and he decided not to. Now the city settled with the families. The city of Cleveland settled with the families, but none of the cops got prosecuted. 4 of the cops actually got fired once it happened. 2 of them stayed on the force. 3 of the 4 cops that got fired are on police departments elsewhere in the state of Ohio right now. So he botched the whole case. So it was down ballot here. We have been the there's a few other things that we're looking at. We got a civilian review board that's on the ballot. A few other initiatives that we're looking at, but it was down ballot. I made that very clear. How I was gonna do it. I didn't know how my wife was gonna go. My wife, she's her own independent thinker. But she looked at stuff and she was like, "We need a black agenda." And she wasn't hearing that, so she said that she wasn't going to vote. And we both got pressure from family members to vote blue no matter who, blah blah blah. But at the end of the day, we got to do what's right in our minds when we voting. And in my mind, I just couldn't, in good conscience, go cast a ballot for somebody that I just don't think has my best interest at heart. So,
Wow. So before we go on, because I do want to turn to some discussion around the House and the Senate, right? Because that's as if not as important, probably more important than what we're going to talk about with respect to the race between Trump and Biden. But before I do that, Ali, Josh, as we continue the down ballot discussion, though, were there any particular down ballot initiatives or down ballot races that stood out to you or were especially important to you to vote for where you were? Ali, let's start with you. Or was there anything in particular, maybe one special ballot initiative or one special race that you focused on?
Yeah, in Jersey they call them public questions. What it was a constitutional amendment for the legalization of marijuana, which I thought was very important. Because New Jersey is one of those states where it's like a no tolerance state. New York is interesting. You can have a certain amount of marijuana in New York, a small amount, I forget the number, and it's okay, right? New Jersey is not like that at all. You can't possess marijuana at all. So a lot of young brothers got caught up in the justice system with possession of marijuana. So that's a big deal for me. The legalization of marijuana as a constitutional amendment in New Jersey. So yeah, that was the one that really stuck out for me.
Appreciate that, Josh. Any particular local down ballot race or initiative that you focused on where you are in Virginia? By the way, actually before you answer that, my producer is coming in. He says that we have some breaking news. Okay, so we have Joe Biden is projected to win the state of Virginia. I repeat, Joe Biden is now projected to win the state of Virginia. So right now, the count for us is Biden is the winner in Vermont and Virginia. These are the only two states that are called from where we are sitting right now. But Joe Biden is projected to win the state of Virginia. Ironically, the exact same state where you are, Josh. Thank you to my production staff. Appreciate that, producers. Josh, I want to go right to you. Talk about any particular down ballot race that you focused on, and then also talk to us about what we just heard. What what are your thoughts on Joe Biden winning your state of Virginia?
Well, I think I didn't think it was going to be an issue for Joe Biden losing Virginia. I knew he was going to win Virginia. Joe Biden, Virginia is a very important state when it comes to racialized history. We talking about 1619. Yeah, that was Virginia. You talking about the capital Confederacy? That was Virginia. You talking about, my lineage is Virginia all the way back, as far as I think the oldest, I'm still working on it. I think the oldest I got to was 1801, but Virginia, a large part of Virginia is Northern Virginia, that's blue. And what happened especially after the George Floyd deal, you saw we have a governor, Governor Ralph Northam, who tried to appease. He did a lot of appeasing, after that situation. You saw a whole lot of statues topple. We still there's probably more statues in Richmond, Virginia, as far as Confederate monuments and statues than anywhere else. And a lot of those came down. They did so many things. So there's that. I think that's the sentiment among people, the voters, may have been impacted by the George Floyd situation and upheaval in Virginia. I think it probably energized a lot of young voters. I want to see the exit polls, whatever, but I want to see. I believe that's the case. Another thing is too, and this ties in with the question you asked before, and that was dealing with was there anything on the ballot or any down ballot race that I was interested in? And I said it before, and that was making it to where citizens had some type of input on, or like you had to get the citizens to vote along with the legislature for redistricting. Because what happened this time around in Virginia, when Virginia got to be Democratic control, they changed the districts around, and I want to say it helped Black voters out. So that may have something to do with him, giving Biden even more of an edge, But those are the two things that was the thing I wanted to say as far as what I was looking for down ballot, and also one reason why Biden probably had an extra boost this time.
Yeah, no, thank you for that. And I actually want to focus our conversation and shift us a little bit while we keep our eye on places like Ohio, where it looks like Biden is leading, also places like Florida, where it looks like Biden has an early lead as well. Obviously, excuse me, two states that we're going to keep our eye on that we're very early in the night. Polls have just closed. We're about 13 minutes away from polls closing in several other key states as well. But let's shift and talk a little bit about the Senate, right? In Virginia, where we are, seeing a Biden win right now. There's the race between Mark Warner and Daniel Gade, if I'm pronouncing his name right. We also have a Senate race in Kentucky, which was called earlier, if I'm not mistaken, for Mr. Donald Trump. The race between Mitch McConnell and Amy McGrath. Let's talk about how important the Senate is to this particular election, and also what it means for the future of Ali. You talked about this earlier. The future of a Black agenda, legislatively inclusive of reparations, right? So actually, Mark, let's start with you, then let's go to Ali, and then let's come to Josh after that. Mark, talk to us about the Senate, how important it is, right now, and where you see the Senate going before the night is out.
Well, for the people who just turned in, I project that the Senate is going to flip. I think the Democrats are going to flip it. By how many seats, I don't know. It may be a 50-50, depending on how the presidency goes, But, I was paying attention to the one in Kentucky, the race in Kentucky between Amy McGrath and Mitch McConnell. And, she ran against Mitch in, I think, in like 2014, I think it was, she ran against Mitch. And she lost. They had a candidate, an ADOS candidate by the name of Charles Booker, that they should have threw the support behind. The Democratic Party should have threw the support behind him. And what I see is you have these fence-stratton Democrats, right? We call them blue dogs. I'm from Georgia originally. We call them blue dogs. They these fence straddlers, right? They wanna appeal to a moderate base, a white moderate base, and expect Black folks to turn out for them. When we look at, you look at the moderate white vote and you say, okay, I don't subscribe to that. So they put Amy McGrath back on the ballot again, and she lost. And she's going to probably lose because right now she's losing by 100,000 votes. So it says something to the candidates that they want to put up, especially in Kentucky with the Breonna Taylor case. Charles Booker probably could have turned out more Black folks in places like Louisville and Lexington because of that. But because they wanted to put her up there, I'm pretty sure a lot of black folks didn't vote for her. They probably left it. They probably down ballot, down ballot said, "I don't like McGrath. I don't like McConnell. Screw it." Because Kentucky has a blue governor. They got a red attorney general. You would think that because of the stuff that's going on with Daniel Cameron, this election will probably be a referendum on him and the way he handled Breonna Taylor. But then you turn around and you put a white moderate female up there. It ain't gonna work. It ain't gonna work in this political game. It didn't work in 2016 with Hillary Clinton. It's not gonna work anywhere where there is a high concentration of black folks. So, if the Democratic Party wants to really, really change the electorate, they're gonna have to get people that look like us to run in districts and states where we can be competitive at. And so that's pretty much how I feel. So, like I said, it might be 51-49, 50-50, you know. So I guess we'll see.
Yeah. So, Mark, don't want to interrupt you, Mark, and Ali, I want to come to you next, and let's talk about the Senate. Let's talk about how important it is. But the producers are telling me we have another projected winner. Breaking news: Donald Trump is projected to win the state of West Virginia. So this is breaking news right now, fam. As the production team is telling me, the Associated Press is projecting Donald Trump to win the state of West Virginia. So add that to the list of states that Donald Trump has won so far, which includes Kentucky, now West Virginia. We've seen Biden take wins tonight in Virginia, and then also Vermont. So we'll keep an eye on the map as several other states are closing their polls within the next 8 minutes or so. We have 8 o'clock polls closing. But let's go back to the really good conversation.
Can I give a quick take on that though,
yes,
bro?
yes.
As a brother that's living in Northern Virginia, every time when I go to West Virginia, I feel uneasy, man. Just to be honest. Driving through that joint, man, I'm feeling uneasy. I'm telling you. You ride past some places and it's dark, nighttime, and because they have a casino out there and the grass is tall, and you think you see some old beat up houses. And man, I do not want to get a flat tire around here. But go ahead, man. I just had to.
No, sounds like one of those, what you would describe as, some of those old sundown towns, right? Some of those places where you don't want to get caught after dark. But let's go to Ali. Talk to us about the Senate. One, do you think the Senate's going to flip, as Mark does, from red to blue? And if so, and even if not, how important is the Senate really to getting a Black agenda and reparations into law?
Wow. Yeah. That's a good question. Is it going to flip? I hope it flips. I hope it flips in terms of being reparations focused. I say this is very important if we keep the House and flip the Senate, because you have HR 40 already there. We're looking to edit HR 40. Obviously, there are a number of problems with the language in HR 40, but we need the House and we need the Senate. My senator, Cory Booker, actually proposed the companion bill in the Senate, and in order to push that thing through, we're going to need numbers in the Senate as well. So, yeah, it's very important to our particular agenda, as reparationists and everything else. So we hoping that we get the Senate. I hope we get it. You know what I'm saying? There's no way to tell right now. I'm just looking at the numbers in terms of just the president, going back and forth in Georgia. For a minute, Biden had a pretty decent lead in Georgia, but that, Trump has opened up a 6-point lead so far, but we'll see what happens. But, I don't know, man. It's hard to tell, man. It's really hard to tell because everybody's enthusiastic about this election on both sides, Republicans and Democrats. So I don't know. We'll see what happens. But I hope we're able to flip the Senate.
Yeah. So as you're talking about, the Senate, it's hard not to focus on the state of Kentucky, right? That's Mitch McConnell land, right? That's also, where we saw the tragic, murder of Breonna Taylor. and all of the unrest and all of the righteous uprising around that. Right now, from the production desk, the production desk is telling me that McConnell is ahead with 58% of the vote there in Kentucky. His opponent, Amy McGrath, is trailing, and as Mark alluded to, you know, it was either McGrath or Charles Booker. The Democrats decided to put their support behind Amy McGrath, who ran before, lost, I believe, to McConnell prior to that. And we see now what at least some of the early results of that decision by the Democratic Party in Kentucky and also the National Democratic Party, you know, was right. You know that right now McGrath is trailing and McConnell is ahead. And as you said, Mark, I think a lot of people think that Booker would have been a better choice. Charles Booker would have been a better choice for the race there in Kentucky, but we will see. You know, as the night unfolds. Also, we're getting word that Biden is leading in both Florida and New Hampshire. So right now, we can say that Biden is ahead in both Florida and New Hampshire, but these are still early numbers coming in. You know, one of the questions that we're going to have later on for the panel is, do you even think we will have, you know, the results of the election tonight? So don't answer that yet. But for those folks in the chat and in the audience, do you think we will even know who the president is tonight? And also, this is another question that we're going to have. And before we get the panel's position on it, I want to throw it to you in the crowd and in the audience. Do you think that if Donald Trump were to lose, he would concede the election fast, slow? Do you think he would be quick to give up office if he was declared the loser tonight? Josh, talk to us about the Senate. One, do you think the Senate is going to go blue to red or red to blue? And how important is the Senate to enacting a Black agenda, enacting reparations?
Yeah, I look at the Senate as these things move in cycles, and this is the time for the Senate to turn blue. And if we end up getting a blue White House, a blue House, and the Senate, it just seems like it might be one of those times. But it's very important that we do have a Senate that is more amenable to things that are in our best interest, in our agenda. It'll be interesting to see if that ends up being the case, and other things are not pushed as a priority. And I think that's one of the main problems that I had with the Biden presidency, is because he always said a lot of things he would do on day one or in the first 100 days, but none of those things had to do with us. His campaign, and I said it on one of our episodes, Be the Power, a few weeks ago. Where is the day one policies for the day one citizens? And I'm talking about ADOS. The people might say, well, we weren't citizens. I ain't gonna get into all of that. We were, but we've always been citizens here, and we built the country. So how is it that we're not pushed to the front of the line with day one policies? So and I'm tying that into the Senate, because now let's say like HR 40. Of course, I'm not even looking necessarily at HR 40, because HR 40 is, it's this Congress is over and it's going to be a new Congress. Who knows what kind of bill may come up that may be introduced. We might have a different reparations bill that's more beefed up, that may be looking something more like AB 3120. I don't know. But we do need that Senate and that House to be able to pass, get those bills, at least get a hearing, get a markup, get it passed, get it moved through. I think part of the reason, of course, S-1083 didn't go anywhere is because Democrats didn't control the Senate, so why waste time? Why waste time It's Republicans that can control it and vote on it and bring it for hearing and all of that, and they weren't having that. And I think it's not going to, but I think it's not going to be enough, honestly, that we have a Democratic Senate. We need reparationist senators. It's just like it's not enough that we have House. We need reparations, whether they're going to, and those people need to be amenable to that type of policy and those type of policies, and not prioritizing things like what Kamala Harris proposed, which was opening up the cap per country cap for H-1B visas. Like, we don't need that type of stuff prioritized. We need things that are going to actually be helping the American citizens, and particularly the most disadvantaged citizens that's old, which is our ADOS.
Fam, thank you for that. And just for those who may not be so caught up, HR 40 is the congressional bill to study and develop reparations proposals for African Americans Act, introduced in the 116th Congress. S1083 is the companion bill is the Senate companion bill to HR 40. So it's basically a carbon copy of HR 40, just introduced in the Senate by Senator Cory Booker back in May of 2019, I believe. And then Josh, you also referenced AB 3121. That is state legislation here in the state of California. It's the California Task Force to Study and Develop Reparations Proposals for African Americans, with special considerations for African Americans who are descendants of persons enslaved in the United States. So just wanted to make sure that folks were following along with those references. Also, by way of update, we are at the 8 o'clock East Coast polling close hour, where there are a number of states whose polls are closing. We are expected to start seeing results coming in from states like Alabama, Connecticut, Delaware, DC. Shout out to DC, make DC a state. Florida, Illinois, Maine's first and second district, Maryland, Massachusetts, Mississippi, Missouri, New Hampshire, New Jersey, Pennsylvania, Oklahoma, Rhode Island, and Tennessee. So we've got a number of states, I believe some 16, 17 states whose polls are beginning to close. We will also have further updates with respect to what the results are of the polls that have closed, and the states that have closed their polls between 7 and 7:30 East Coast time. As we just stated, the last race that we called was, I believe, Virginia for Biden, West Virginia for Trump, and we've got a number of other states whose results are coming in, and we actually have some new projections. Let me get. Okay, thank you. Okay, so the projection desk is telling me that we have some projected results coming in from the Associated Press. Donald Trump is projected to win the states of Oklahoma, Missouri, Alabama, South Carolina, and Tennessee. So wow, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 states called for Trump, projected to go in the Trump column just in the last 5 or so minutes. So this is breaking news. Donald Trump wins those states, and also Biden is projected to win the state of Illinois. So we have Biden projected to win the state of Illinois, and Donald Trump projected to win the states of Oklahoma, South Carolina, Alabama, and a couple other states down in the southern south eastern part of the United States. So as we are having our discussion here, results will be coming in. If my production team could put up the numbers for put up the states that Trump won just now, so we can read them once more to the panel here. Donald Trump wins the states of Oklahoma, Missouri, Alabama, South Carolina, and Tennessee. Okay, so that map is starting to get a lot more red than it was about an hour ago. We're still waiting on the results in many of the key states, and there are several states that we are paying very, very close attention to. Pennsylvania, Ohio, Georgia, North Carolina, which I don't believe we have results in for yet, if I'm not mistaken. So North Carolina, Florida, right? Florida is still being counted. At last time we checked, Biden was ahead in both Florida and Ohio, but we will see what the results are ultimately tonight. All right. So we just had a lot of great discussion around the Senate. We had a lot of great discussion around the presidency. Let's just round this out for good measure. Let's talk about the House. Okay. So one, excuse me. There's almost no projection that I see that the Democrats will, lose control of the House of Representatives. So Mark, I want to start with you for this one. What's your projection for the House? Will it stay blue first, and then two, will Republicans pick up seats or will Democrats pick up seats?
I think in the House, the Democrats are going to keep it. I actually think they're going to increase their numbers. It seems on the House side, they had a better, kind of the way the congressional districts are kind of lined up. They had a better way of picking up some seats. So I think they're probably going to pick up a seat in Texas. And, they may pick up another seat or two in California. Here in Ohio, it's going to be kind of tricky here in Ohio. I think the race the race I'm actually watching here in Ohio, excuse me, happens to be the seat that Jim Jordan is sitting in. And that seat is kind of interesting because there is a independent that is running that used to be a Republican, and he's a very, very well-known Republican in that area. He's a business owner. He has one of the biggest farms in that congressional district, and he ran against Jim Jordan as an independent. So the Democrats didn't even put nobody up against him because they think that he said that he would caucus with the Democrats if he won, because he brought out this scathing thing about Jim Jordan. I mean, Jim Jordan has been embattled in so many scandals in regards to some sex trafficking and sexual assaults that happened with a wrestling team at Ohio State back in the day, where he was the kind of like where the guy from Michigan State was doing with the gymnast. And we had the same thing happen at Ohio State with the wrestling team here at Ohio State. So I'm watching that one. So I think the Democrats may pick up another seat. That'll give them 5 in the state. They're going to hold the other 4. That means Tim Ryan is going to hold his seat. That means that Joyce Beatty is going to hold her seat. That means Marsha Fudge is going to hold her seat in Cleveland. So I'm kind of curious to watch what's going to happen in the 4th congressional district here, which is a seat that Jim Jordan holds. And then I'm also kind of watching what's happening in the 12th congressional district, which is where Troy Balderson is at, because Delaware County is on the outside of Columbus. It is the northern suburb of Columbus. It's been leaning red for the most part, but over the last few years, a lot of liberals have moved into that area because of the cost of living. So if you look at our corridor where we at, they got a real good candidate running in that race. Troy Balderson has been a Trumper since he's been in Congress, but he's not really that well liked in this area. So it's going to be curious because he almost lost in 2018, but he pulled it out kind of slowly but surely, kind of pulled it out. He didn't win by a lot. I think he won by like less than 2 points. So I'm kind of watching those 2 races. So the Jim Jordan race and the Troy Balderson race, I'm watching those here in Ohio. And if the Democrats, if the turnout right now, because I'm looking at what Biden is doing in Delaware County, he's actually doing way better than what Hillary Clinton did in 2016, which is shocking. So if that's any indication of what's going on in Ohio, then it's definitely going to be interesting to watch what goes on in that congressional district. So I'm curious to watch that one and see what happens and see if they can have 6. They'll have 6 congressional Congress people from the state of Ohio, which we haven't had in a while. So
that's going to be very interesting to watch actually, because Ohio's, that Jim Jordan race is one that I've actually had my eye on, because Jim Jordan's important for a couple of different reasons. But before we continue the discussion on the House and whether or not we think the Democrats are going to keep the House, and if so, why and by how much, the production desk is telling me, thank you, fam, that we have some more breaking news. We have some more states that have been called this time in favor of Joe Biden. Massachusetts, Rhode Island, Connecticut, New Jersey, Delaware, and Maryland all have been called for Joe Biden. So once again, that's Massachusetts, Rhode Island, Connecticut, New Jersey, Delaware, and Maryland, all called for Joe Biden. And there's actually one correction that we have to make. The state of Missouri was not called for Donald Trump. It was the state of Mississippi. So correction for that last one. Even though I think we can, we are expecting, not projecting, we are expecting Joe Biden to win the state of Mississippi, of Missouri as well. But as of now, Donald Trump has won the state of Mississippi, not Missouri. And once again, breaking news: Joe Biden is the winner in the states of Massachusetts, Rhode Island, Connecticut, New Jersey, Delaware, and Maryland. So the states are closing polls. We're getting a bunch of results coming in right now. Let's continue the discussion. Also, I want to welcome in of Politics in Black fame, the one, the only, half of the Politics in Black duo, Friday Jones. Welcome, fam. You, like I think a lot of us have your hands full today. So I want to welcome you, fam. Thank you for joining the broadcast. Anything you want to say just coming in?
Hey everybody. I'm doing like we do. I'm working, I'm leaving work, trying to get officially set up, but I wanted to try and get in as early as possible. So hopefully the internet will be stable enough for you all to hear me. I'm representing with my mask today, with the All-American, trying to rock it out a little bit as I move around outside. But I'm just, thank you so much for having me here. I love the BDT fam. I love Black Civics, what you, Tone, and Kim have been doing. So thank you so much. Thank you,
fam. Appreciate you. Take your time, get set up. We're right now, we're looking at some of the outlook and forecast for what the House is going to look like. We talked about the Senate. We're getting some early results in from a bunch of different national races for president. We've got a lot of other states, to do some poll closing, and then also some results in the next 15 minutes as well. We have a bunch of other states that are going to be telling us what their final results are. So welcome you, fam. Appreciate it. All right, now I did want to just round it up. I think it was either Ali or Josh. Talk to us about the House. What do you think about the House? Is it going to stay blue, which we think it is, right? But what do you think? And then two, are the Democrats going to pick up seats? Are they going to lose any seats? What's your thoughts on the House of Representatives, which has been blue for the past many years? Why don't we start with Josh?
I had
no way.
You talking about the House?
Do you think the House is going to stay blue? And if so, do you think the Democrats will pick up any seats, or do you think they'll keep the same number of seats? Do you think the Republicans will pick up any seats? What's your overall take on the direction that the House is going to go tonight?
Well, yeah, my overall guess is that the Democrats are going to end up controlling both houses of Congress. I don't, and I'm just basing that off of looking at some of the projections that I saw, and also certain ones that I was interested in as far as the House. I saw that they were projected to win. So I don't think that Biden. I mean, I don't think that Republicans are going to overtake that. I think Democrats are going to end up controlling both the House and the Senate. They're going to hold on to the House and turn the Senate blue, and that's going to be real interesting. It's going to be real interesting because I mean, if you look at even the trends, this is a trend that was going on that was projected like I think since 2018 that it was going to end up happening, and it's going to be like I said, like I was saying before, if assuming that Joe Biden may win, that's going to be interesting to see what they actually do.
Yeah. And sorry, Josh, I don't mean to interrupt you. Got some breaking news coming in. The production desk is telling me that Mitch McConnell is the declared projected winner of the Senate race in Kentucky. Once again, Mitch McConnell wins his seat back for senator in Kentucky. That's Senate Majority Leader as it stands right now. Mitch McConnell wins his seat, wins the race against Amy McGrath for Senate Majority Leader. He keeps his seat. Mitch McConnell is a very famous senator for a number of different reasons, not all of them good. And so we are just getting results in that Mitch McConnell will keep his seat. That was projected to that was an expected result based on some of the last polling that we saw. But just to inform everyone that Mitch McConnell is now projected to win his seat back in the Kentucky Senate race. Any reaction to that?
Like I said, Chris, that's the Democrats' fault. That I put that solely on the feet of Tom Perez and the DNC for even allowing Amy McGrath to even consider running for that race again. They had a real opportunity to win that seat with Charles Booker, and I put that solely at the feet of the DNC for being ignorant to the fact that they thought they could run a white moderate female in that race and think that black folks were going to turn out in record numbers for her. I'm curious to see what the actual numbers are going to be based on demographic, based on the presidential versus the Senate race in Kentucky. I'm curious to see those numbers because I'm pretty sure it's going to be very, very telling when we look at the percentage of votes based on Amy McGrath.
So if I could hop in here. So I think one of the things that Mark pointed out, the Democratic Party has to look at itself. And I'm going to be very specific. The county committees that wind up getting behind candidates and that wind up essentially putting people into races when they don't like the way it's going. So the idea was to get rid of Mitch. So they put McGrath in, but it's also like Tamar Shealy's former Senate run when she was doing the local Senate race in, what is her state? The state of Georgia. And they found a white woman named Stacey, because it was Stacey Abrams and the Stacey in this race running at the same time. They found the local Democratic county committee found a white woman to put into that race to run against Tamar Shealy. And I think it's time for us as ADOS people to actually start getting involved in these county committees, getting involved where the decisions are being made, because the Democratic Party is going to have a day of reckoning. You can't keep undermining your own progress because you're afraid to run a black candidate. You're afraid to run somebody who the voters are going to go for because you're trying to find someone for your comfortability. There's some growing in this nation that has to be done. And I don't think the Democrats are ready. That also presents a challenge if he stays in his current role through the next Senate, because we know all the bottlenecking that has been happening under Mitch McConnell's watch.
Father, you raised a good point. Actually, let's hone in on this McConnell win as we wait for for some of the other results of a lot of the polls that have already closed. And as we, sort of circle around the 8:30 hour on the East Coast, let's hone in on this McConnell win, and let's talk. Let's talk more about the Senate, right? So Democrats are projected to win the Senate. I think there was some 75% chance of Democrats taking the Senate if you look at the 538, polling averages, the 538.com polling averages, even some of the Real Clear Politics polling averages had Democrats projected to flip the Senate. But that's only one of the good questions to ask about the Senate, right? Is it going to flip red to blue? The other good question to ask is by how much, right? Because right now we know, and we saw this in right after Barack Obama was elected. We saw it in the George Bush years. We saw it, we see this pretty much every session, that how much of the Senate do you control matters. So do you control 51 votes, or do you control 53 votes? Do you control 55 votes? Do you control 60 votes? Right? In the modern day times, to have any real power, it seems like you need to have close to 60 votes in the Senate that's filibuster proof, so that you can get what you want done in the Senate. That's another way to say that even if there is a good chance that even if the Democrats do flip the Senate, if they don't flip the Senate by a large enough margin, they're going to have a hard time getting done what they want to get done anyway. And it's almost, right now, I think it's almost guaranteed that Mitch McConnell, if the Democrats lose if the Republicans lose the Senate, that Mitch McConnell becomes the minority leader, right? If he's the minority leader in the Senate, he will have a lot of power. And if the Democrats don't win, 55, 60 votes, which is not likely, then there's going to be a big problem in getting any kind of transformative legislation done, right? Anything you can do is going to have to be either, very, very marginal, very, very weak, very, very conservative, to be honest with you, and we already have someone in Joe Biden who has already, committed himself to being kind of conservative. In a lot of his policies, Joe Biden is conservative light, and not so conservative light in some other places too. Joe Biden, could in another time be called a Republican because of his positions on a lot of things. But for most of the things that we care about, Black agenda, reparations, it's going to be tough with a Joe Biden presidency, even if the Democrats take the Senate. So I wanted to throw that out there. Any reaction? Any further reaction to the Mitch McConnell win in Kentucky?
I'll say this. I agree with Friday. I really agree with Friday on her take on this. And this is that come to Jesus meeting that we as ADOS people gonna have to have with the Democratic Party. Because if this continues to happen like this, then we're never going to get transformative legislation passed for the descendants of slaves. Period. End of discussion. We gotta we're gonna have to start taking over. We talk about Project Takeover, taking over, institutions like the NAACP and the Urban League. But we're gonna have to start talking about Project Takeover when it comes to these county Democratic offices, these the county ran Democratic parties, because this is Mitch McConnell winning is a bad thing. It's a bad thing for us as ADOS people because we already know how he is when it comes to blocking legislation. He is a master at what he does. He's a master at blocking legislation. He knows how to whip his votes on his side. He knows how to get the entire Republican Senate behind him on doing things. and for me, him being in office again means that for the next 4 years, regardless whether if Biden wins the Senate, wins the presidency, and the Democrats win the Senate, nothing for ADOS people is going to get done. And we got to have, so as much as we want, people want to get Trump out of office and all these things, we got to look at this Senate. We got to look at the Senate. We got to look at, no, so we're going to basically, what this is setting us up for is we're about to get 4 years of Obama light. That's what we're getting. 4 years of Obama light if Biden is in office. Nothing transformative. There is going to be no black agenda because it's never going to pass the Senate. Mitch McConnell is going to use the power of the filibuster tooth and nail. He's going to have people like Ted Cruz and Marco Rubio reading Dr. Seuss books on the damn Senate floor again, like they used to. It's going to be all of that. It's going to be all of that. What you're going to see is CNN and MSNBC saying that, McConnell is doing all this stuff. And then it's going to be 2024 before you know it. So we got to have a real come to Jesus meeting as ADOS people and look at this and say, okay, Project Takeover, yes, we can take back over the NAACP and Urban League, but damn it, we need to be taking over state and local parties. We need to be taking over those seats and running candidates that are going to get things done for us. And we cannot continue to allow Tom Perez and the DNC to run amok, and we continue to vote for these people. This was like I said, it pisses me off because I live in Ohio, right? I live in Ohio, and I travel a lot to Kentucky. I travel a lot to Louisville and Lexington, Kentucky, all the time. This is bad for the state of Kentucky. This is bad for the state of Kentucky, because this just proves that, to me, Black lives don't matter. Because Charles Booker should have been that candidate. Will he have beaten Mitch McConnell? We don't know. But he didn't even get a chance to, because they didn't even want to get behind him as a candidate. They would rather run this woman who just got mollywopped for the second time. So what happens? And now Mitch McConnell is in there to 2026 now. You know what I'm saying? This is 2026 because I need people to understand the Senate is the Senate is a 6-year seat.
Yep.
Mitch McConnell is going to be in office until 2026 now. So that means that everything that happens with him is going to go across another presidency. So that means that the next time that we can get him out of there would be in a midterm election in 2026. Yeah. This is crazy. This is absolutely crazy, and I don't understand why it's like we running into a damn brick wall. You know what I'm saying? It's like we keep doing the same thing, expecting different results, and that's the definition of insanity. So, I hope people are watching what's going on, because we pay attention to the presidency so much that I don't think the ADOS people are paying attention to exactly what's going on with the down ballot races and why this is bad. Mitch McConnell is the master of killing bills. So we can expect that even if a reparations bill was to get passed in the House, it's going to get filibustered in the Senate. We can expect that. We can expect that right now. So this is why we gotta Tom Perez, as far as I'm concerned, even if they take back the Senate and the House, they need to be looking at somebody else, because this is not going to do anything. Look at that. 4,000 people voted for Kanye West in Kentucky. Like, seriously, come on, man.
That's crazy. Josh, jump in, family, if you want to add to this. Go ahead, fam.
4,144 voted for Kanye West. But did as long as did they vote for Mitch McConnell? So that's kind of the thing. Like, man, we talking about down ballot, but the thing about having somebody that fires people up on the top of the ticket is you end up getting more people to come out and vote down ballot that can knock some of these other fools out. You know, like think about it. I mean, yeah, Booker, from a local standpoint, people come to the polls for the most part in the presidential race, not to vote for the other down ballot races, right? They come out to vote for the presidential race. So it's a greater chance for Democrats to win some of these the senator races and the House rep races if they have somebody on the top of the ticket that is going to inspire people to come out to the polls. And we see that Joe Biden just wasn't it. I think people were more so just inspired to come out to the polls because they don't like Trump. That's a big thing. But what if adding on top of that, it was somebody at the top of the ticket that people actually wanted to vote for? What if there was somebody on the top of the ticket to bring more of the black vote out? If people are voting for Kanye West, to me, what they're saying is it's nobody on the ticket that they're fired up about voting for. That's what that means. They didn't vote for Kanye West. I mean, obviously it's 4,100, but I just think it's a major issue. Is going back to a Friday and what Mark was talking about as far as getting Democrats to see that, look, y'all have these failed strategies. You think you can just get behind somebody safe that's not going to turn off too many white voters and all this kind of stuff. No, you need to get behind the people who know how to fire people up. Like, you can't run an authentic campaign based on justice and based on all of the stuff that caused upheaval in America without putting somebody who comes from that background, who represents that, and whose life experiences that. And I was trying to bring up an article I wanted to read. It was talking about the Virginia, how racial gerrymandering in addressing that in Virginia caused a lot of the other races to. Oh, there it is. All right, let me. Can I control that, or do y'all control it?
I think the production team is going to control.
Okay.
But tell them what you want them to do.
Yeah. I'm gonna go and I'm gonna scroll. I'm gonna read it if you want to scroll down. This is from Virginia Pilot. I'm not gonna read this whole thing because it's pretty lengthy, but I wanted to just highlight. I'm gonna read from the top and then I'm gonna go down. So it says this article was not from this year, it's from last November. So it says the redrawing House of Delegates districts that resulted in 4 Democrats being elected in previously Republican held seats on Tuesday were supposed to be about more than partisanship. A new legislative map was drawn earlier this year to equalize votes so that African Americans will be able to elect who they wanted rather than be stuck in a district originally drawn to dilute their votes, as federal courts ruled happened when Virginia Republicans created legislative maps in 2011. So did it work? With the help of 6 candidates who flipped GOP seats, Democrats are now in the majority. 3 black candidates, Clinton Jenkins in the Suffolk Senate 76th House District, Alex Askew in the Virginia Beach's 85th House District, and Josh Cole in Fredericksburg's 28th House District will replace white lawmakers. 2 of them, Jenkins and Cole, flipped GOP seats. See, that's something that can happen when these things are corrected. So it says 4 out of the 6 seats with 6 flip seats were redrawn as a part of a court mandate to fix racial gerrymandering in each of the 4 redrawn districts. More black voters were added. Republican Delegate Chris Jones, who led the redrawing of the lines in 2011 and represents the 76th district, was one of the white lawmakers ousted by a black candidate. Jones, who spent 2 decades in office, was one of the state's most powerful lawmakers, having led the House Appropriations Committee. And then it goes down to, I don't want to read this, like I said, because it's long. But it says, in the current political climate, African Americans tend to vote for Democrats. Okay. But without digging into the racial makeup of each of the voters who cast ballots in the redrawn districts, it's hard to say how much influence the new map had on Tuesday's election, Green said. What the election did show is Virginians were given more equal footing to elect their candidate of choice. What old maps did is put a thumb. We already know how what they did to us here, but it says take House. Oh no, let me read this. It says when legislature redrew the maps after the 2010 census, it applied a 55% Black voting age population requirement to the districts in question. In doing so, the court said legislators shifted groups of voters in and out of districts primarily based on their race, which is illegal. Take House District 76 in Suffolk. In the 2011 maps, African Americans comprised 26% of the district that was held by a white Republican, according to Virginia Public Access Project. Now, African Americans make up 45% of the district, and on Tuesday, the voters elected a Black candidate there. The parts of Suffolk that were added to the 76 voted overwhelmingly for Jenkins, who said he thinks the maps did what they were intended to do. So this is, and by the way, Virginia is the first state in the country to the only state in the country to offer this type of amendment to its state constitution. But yeah, it's
Really?
they were talking about that here. I'm going down in the article, but
it sounds like we need to be so in addition to Project Takeover for the local Democratic parties, the county Democratic parties, right? The nominating committees, the redistricting commissions and the local redistricting commissions are also important as hell, right?
So,
Yeah.
but here's the problem with that. Here's the problem with that. The redistricting is done with the census. So those redistricting committees have already been formed. So we essentially, unfortunately, and in LA, we definitely tried to get some Black applicants onto the committees here, but we won't have an opportunity to join those committees again until we get into the 2020 census. So I wanna make that little bit of awareness for us. Like there's so many different places and positions for us as ADOS people to fill. There's so many positions for us to fill. That's a significant one, and that's the one that we did pay attention to here in LA by just getting the applicant numbers up. You don't know what's going to happen, but you got to be part of that pool. And the other thing that is worth mentioning at this time is the idea of the United States being a democratic republic. We are not a democracy. We're a democratic republic. And the reason that we're a democratic republic is, for the most part, because of the Electoral College. And at this point, we, in terms of the gerrymandering, in terms of our population numbers in the midst of other populations, it is very, very difficult for us to actually elevate our politics just based on the numbers. And the system that we have developed here as a nation, even though it appears to be a democracy, it is filled and flawed with structural racism that ultimately keeps us out. The Constitution is almost, at the presidential level of voting, is almost not applicable to us. And we as people, and the NAACP, they have the muscle in this country when it comes to civil rights and violations and asserting lawsuits. This is something that needs to really be studied, and mainstream media is not going to do it. We are at some point in our development going to have to actually bring in people to really look at our election process in order to redefine it. And we say, okay, we are ADOS people. Our main focus politically is reparations, but this is an area of reparations that needs to be considered, because our current structure is actually made to disenfranchise us, and nobody takes a look at it. No one's filing a lawsuit on our behalf. Nobody. So when people like in Cobra, and NARC want to say, oh, it's not just about the check, don't insult our intelligence. We ADOS people. Don't insult our intelligence. we are very keenly aware of the impact of structural racism and the different areas of our lives that it affects. So that's what I wanted to add.
Friday, I wanted to. Oh, Chris, did you want to say something about the Arkansas?
Yeah, I just wanted to jump in because we got some breaking news. The production team has been on my has been on my case to make sure that I bring the latest results. So shout out to the production team. We do have some breaking news. Donald Trump is the projected winner in the state of Arkansas. Donald Trump right now is projected to win the state of Arkansas. Right now, bringing his total of electoral votes to, I believe it's 42 to Joe Biden's 85, if I'm not mistaken. If I'm not mistaken, correct me if I'm wrong. There in the production chat, but it seems right now Joe Biden is ahead in the race for 270 electoral votes so far. Not by much, but we just learned that that Donald Trump did take the state of Arkansas. Right now, the count is 85 to 61. Joe Biden leading in electoral votes, 85 to 61, and the magic number is 270. We are about 20 minutes away from poll closings in a number of other states. At 9 p.m. on the East Coast, we've got a bunch of states dropping. We've got Arizona, Colorado, Kansas, Louisiana, Michigan, Minnesota, Nebraska, New Mexico, New York, North Dakota, South Dakota, Wyoming, and Texas. So we've got a bunch of poll closings coming in just under 20 minutes, 18 minutes or so. So stick with us. And also big shout out to everyone who has been hanging in there in the chat. This is one of the longest nights of political coverage you're ever going to see. Okay. And I want to give a shout out to the panel. Okay. This is one of, this is definitely some of the longest, live action that we will do this year. But we're here for the right reasons, right? We're here to bring political coverage from the Black lens, from the ADOS lens to our Black people, to our ADOS people. So thank you everybody for hanging in there. If you haven't already, get your libations. Start your libations now. If you haven't already, some of us already started. I haven't, but that's okay. I will start later. Get your libations. Get comfortable. We will be here for a while. And Josh, I want to come back to you if you have any follow-up feedback on anything that we heard with respect to not just either Donald Trump taking Arkansas, but also finishing up the conversation around the win in Kentucky by Mitch McConnell, what that means, and also the impact of or the need for us to focus on not just what's going on with the Senate, but also focusing on how the districts are actually drawn so that we have a better chance of impacting who gets elected and who doesn't.
Yeah, I think that needs to be a push. When we see like so much support, let's say the furthering of wins that Democrats have, we need them to take action on that. I think a lot of times they may not want to take the action that they need to take to kind of close up the holes. So, what I've seen in Virginia is when the one party gets in power, when it's their turn, they do the redistricting, but nobody really wanted to like close it up a little bit to where as soon as the next party gets in power and when it's their turn, they just switch it up again, and we've already seen that the primary motivation is along racial lines. So I think we need part of it, whatever agenda that's going on within the states needs to be, and y'all let me know how y'all feel about outside of the states, but it needs to be to curtail the ability of whatever party is in power to be able to close it up, to be able to stop the ability to gerrymander. Like that needs to be a priority. That needs to be like a priority policy, and make it to where it's real hard to. So we fix it. We fix the issues and we close it up. Like I know most of the time, if your state is a Republican-controlled legislature, is not going to happen. But that's something that has to be pushed for if the Democrats get in power. But I wanted to tell y'all. Let me know how y'all feel about that on the panel. But also I wanted to ask Friday, because she brought up the Electoral College. I thought that, you know, that's very interesting when you look at, like, when we bring up the map to show the states that Trump won, Black folks, you know, like Mississippi. I mean, there's so many Black folks in Mississippi. There's so many Black folks in Georgia, Alabama, those states. But it's like their votes just get wiped away once the Electoral College deems that Trump wins the state. Their votes get wiped away. So how do you feel about that?
Okay, I'm so not where I want to be to have this particular part of this conversation. I don't know if Tony or Chris can pull up the file that I sent you guys earlier today, but I actually did like an in-depth sort of look from 2000 to date in terms of the Black belt in this country, and basically how there's no remedy for Black people. I hate to put it like that, not when it comes to the Electoral College. The Electoral College in the Black belt, easily every election accounts for about 30% of the electoral votes that go to any president. And the data wasn't in the internet, with the exception Louisiana had the information that I wanted to share. And if you look at Louisiana being bolded, you look at the number of votes, you look at the percentage of the available to vote, and then you look at the percentage of Black voters in there, we're a numeric minority. So how does a numeric minority ever assert its political will? It's like you can't do it. And if you guys scroll from any year, I can't see that because I'm on my phone. I'm not in front of my computer, which is where I was hoping to be by the time we pulled this graphic up. But if you can say, like Chris, you could read out the numbers in Louisiana, and that, I think, is, if we were able to disaggregate the data the way we want, you would see it on a larger scale. And when you look at the percentage of votes and the different years that the Black belt in this country, which accounts for 50% of the Black people that actually live in this country, you have 50% of Black people in this country that have no power. But yet we're told every election to go and vote, 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 vote. And when you look at the numbers from year to year to year, it doesn't make sense. And when you look at the percentage of those Electoral College votes for all the years that it's read, for the most part, that's 50% of the number that's needed. It's about 50% of the number that's needed for the winner. The times that Barack Obama, if you scroll up to the 2000, what was that? The 2000, I think, 8 and 2012 elections, where he flipped Florida in one of the elections, and he flipped Virginia twice, and he flipped North Carolina. When you look at the Barack Obama flips, you know, for him, those Electoral College votes wound up being, and I can't see that because it's just too small on my phone to see, but those were significant even for him to flip the states that he flipped. But it doesn't matter, because at the very bottom, if you scroll to the bottom of this graphic, and we can come back because I'm actually almost home, but if you scroll all the way to the bottom, that's a plot map of race in this country. And for the most part, you see the green in that very map. If you scroll to the bottom map, which shows the racial dot map. Is that Chris or Tony who's controlling what we see? Okay, so we're basically in the bottom of the country. Right. We're at the bottom of the country. We're in the Black belt. We're still in the tobacco cotton states. That's where 50% of Black folks live. And this is a 2010 census map with the data along to the side of it. But however you look at it, it's 50% of us that are not franchised. And people do not talk about that in mainstream media because they just give gross voter numbers. They don't break it out by race. So we don't get to have a real conversation about the limitation of our political will because no one wants to have that conversation. So that's what I think about it, Josh.
Powerful. Sorry, I'm changing cameras here, fam.
Thank you, sis.
Yeah, and powerful stuff. So I was changing cameras here. Hope everyone can see me, hear me still. Friday, that was an amazing analysis. Thank you, Friday. We could see the graphics pretty clear, and you did a great job of narrating, especially that last part with respect to the racial dot map. We are still located primarily in that southern black belt part of the country. Definitely want to see what a more recent dot map looks like, but powerful analysis, fam. This is why we are doing this. This is why we have this amazing all-star panel of guests on today. Have been going almost 2 hours now. So big shout out to everybody who has hung in there, stuck in there. Great work. Thank you, Mark, for hanging in there. Josh, Friday. Appreciate everyone. This has been, and also want to give a shout out to the production team as well in the background, doing an amazing job as we're starting to get some of the later polls and later states to close their polls, and also some of the later results coming in here tonight, election night, Tuesday, November 3rd, 2020. Also, thank you to the audience hanging in there, watching this with us. We have a lot of coverage to come. We've got about an hour left, of coverage. We're expecting some results in the states of Florida. If the production team can when it gets a chance, put up the map so folks can see where we are right now and see what the states look like right now and what the map is. Last time we checked, Joe Biden was ahead in the Electoral College vote, 85 to 61. We've had polls close in the state of Florida as well, and we are waiting on some results there. That's a key pivotal state that we are watching. Also the state of Georgia. We are also watching that state, key pivotal state. I don't think we have results there yet, but if and when we do, we will make sure that we bring them to you all live here. Let's get back to some of the discussion though. We held off on this, in the beginning, because we didn't want to, do this too early, but we don't want to wait too late to do this, right? So let's do it now. Let's get some predictions, okay? We halfway in. We ain't put nobody on the spot yet. So let's get some predictions. Who's gonna win tonight? Who is gonna win the race for the White House? Who's gonna get to 271st? What's your prediction for who gets to 271st? Mark, I'm gonna throw it to you first, fam.
I think Biden is going to win it. I think that he's gonna edge it out. It's not going to be this landslide, like this blue wave, right? But I think he's going to win. I think he's going to take back Michigan. I think he's going to take back Wisconsin. I think Pennsylvania is going to be tricky. He may edge it out in Pennsylvania because he's very popular in Pennsylvania. I think Arizona is going to be blue. I really do. I really think I think that they're going to pick up the other Senate seat in Arizona, so that they'll have Kristen Sinema and the other candidate that's running that's running against Mark the McSally. I think they're going to pick that up. But when it comes to Florida, I think Biden is going to win Florida. I think that he's going to edge it out, only because the majority of the Republican vote has already been counted in across the state, and he's doing way better than Clinton did in other counties like Miami-Dade, like Broward, like Orange County, which is the Tampa Orlando area, Pinellas County. Like he's running the numbers up. The turnout has been high in those areas, and he's doing better than Hillary Clinton. Matter of fact, he's gotten more votes than the total amount of what Hillary Clinton did. So he may edge out Florida overall Then again, he may not. It may come down. It may be like a 22,000 thing. In regards to Ohio, where I'm at, I I I I, I don't know. It's a toss up in here in Ohio. It could go either way. It's like a pendulum, right? And if he doesn't win Ohio and he ends up winning the presidency, like I said earlier, for those who didn't know, no president since 1960, since JFK, has won the presidency without carrying the state of Ohio. So if Joe Biden happens to lose Ohio and win the presidency, he'll be the first president. He'll be the first presidential nominee since JFK to do it. So I think that Biden is going to get the 270. I think he's going to probably be around maybe 285 when it's all said and done. And and that's going to give him enough. I think he's gonna. Trump needs Pennsylvania, and he needs something else, right? Even if he takes Ohio, he needs to win Pennsylvania and something else. I don't think he's going to win Arizona. I really think Arizona is blue. I think Arizona has flipped blue. I think it's going to probably be a safe Democratic state from here on out. Um, and I think that right now, if I was a betting man, I'm probably about 70% sure that Biden is going to be the president.
All right, let's keep it going. Josh, I'm gonna come to you, fam. We ain't want to put nobody on the spot too early. We about halfway in, so we safe. Who's gonna win, Biden or Trump? Unmute yourself, fam. Unmute yourself.
Man, I'm doing that all the time. But I started to say it earlier in the program, and you held me off. You wanted to hold that off. I thought that was good. But you were talking about the polls, and I said I think the polls are going to be wrong, but I don't think I started to say I don't think they're going to be that far off as a lot of people think. And like Mark was saying, in Arizona, which is a key swing state, I think 20% of the population is senior citizens out there. And they got, and COVID changed the game. I think COVID the threat that it had on people's lives, and COVID disproportionately hit senior citizens. I think that may end up being the difference for Biden in Arizona as far as turning that blue. So yeah, I think Biden wins. So I'll make that prediction.
Friday, coming to you. Who wins tonight, Trump or Biden? You are muted, fam.
Whoever wins Texas and Ohio is winning.
Oh, you're breaking up a little bit.
I think she said whoever wins Texas and Ohio.
Whoever wins Ohio and Texas.
And let me give my prediction too, since I'm here. I'm gonna say Biden's gonna win. I think it's gonna be an edge because I think even though I'm a little bit surprised right now to see that Trump is ahead in Florida at this point. I mean, maybe I shouldn't be surprised because Florida is usually too close to call, right? Florida is probably usually one of the last states, but I think Biden will win ultimately, even though it looks closer right now than it will ultimately end up. I do think Biden will win and will edge it out. So that's my prediction. Hold me to it. We got another hour or so to go. And again, shout out to everyone who's been hanging in there. We have one more hour of live coverage to go as we round up and come up on the 9 o'clock p.m. Eastern Time hour, 6 o'clock here on the West Coast, 8 o'clock in the middle of the country. Once again, you are watching the Be the Power, Black Civics, Politics in Black, ADOSCA Media, live election coverage. We've got an all-star panel here who have been with us from the beginning and joined us. Some folks have joined us in the middle to discuss and dissect and analyze all of the latest election results as they are coming in. We are focusing on some of the key states right now. In particular, Florida. We just saw some results, some early results from Pennsylvania. Looks like Biden is ahead in Pennsylvania right now. Let's see if he holds that. Let's see if that remains the case. We don't know yet, but at this point in the game, Biden is leading in Pennsylvania, and Pennsylvania is a key critical state. I think from all of the projections and all the forecasts, it looks like Trump has to win Pennsylvania to have any chance of being the president again. We'll see. But right now, Joe Biden is ahead in Pennsylvania. It looks like Donald Trump is ahead in Florida, and we will see. We've got a bunch of states whose polls are closing right now. Let me give you the exact list of what states we can expect to hear from right now. That's Colorado, Kansas, Louisiana, Michigan, which was a very important state in 2016, the state of Michigan. So for anyone who's in Michigan, we will be focusing somewhat on your state as well. Minnesota, Nebraska, New Mexico, New York, North Dakota, South Dakota, Wyoming, and Texas. Texas is actually and if you don't mind, fam, let's talk a little about Texas, okay? Because Texas is a state that traditionally votes red, right? For the last couple of cycles, we've been seeing the trend sort of move toward the purple, right? But there is a large Latino vote in Texas. Donald Trump is overperforming right now in Texas and Donald Trump is overperforming among Latinos nationwide, in particular in states like Texas and one of the states that we're watching, like Florida, right? Donald Trump's strength in Florida is largely tied to his overperformance among Latinos, right? In Texas, Donald Trump, is doing better among Latinos also. So what are our thoughts about Texas? What are our thoughts about also not just Texas, but the Latino vote for Trump? We've heard a lot over the last couple of weeks about the Black men vote for Trump, right? Or the increased Black support, among Black men for Trump, whether or not that exists or not. But we haven't talked about the 30% of Latinos that are going to vote for Donald Trump. So anyone want to jump in and take that?
I'll jump on it first. I think a lot of people. This is why I don't understand why Democrats are like pro-immigration, right? You know what I'm saying? And it's probably gonna piss some people off when I say this. I don't understand why they're pro-immigration, because if you look at the numbers, by the numbers, Latinos vote probably more so on the lines with Republicans, is particularly in states like Texas and Florida. If you look at the Cuban vote that's down in Miami-Dade, they are very, very, very pro-conservative. They have an issue with Castro and Cuba, so they came to the United States, and they are pro-Republican. You look at Texas, the Mexicans that live in Texas that are here legally, they are more likely to vote for Republicans. So I don't get how the Democratic Party can be for that. So if you look at these numbers, and I wish we had the graph up from 2016, we can see the breakdown for Latinos, because they went about a third of them nationwide went for Donald Trump. So it is very, 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 very interesting to see the Latino vote, because for some reason because there are a lot of people here who are in the country who are undocumented. Uh, they think, and this is the breakdown, right? The Latino vote, right? So you see the, if you go down to the state by state, if you go to like, if you scroll down, if you go to like Texas, you go to state by state, right? Um, you can kind of see like the gender, right? You can kind of see that they say it kind of leans Democrat, but if you look at that silent, that the actual number, that it's really not blue. It's really not blue. Cubans control Miami, right? They control the Miami-Dade area. Uh, they are very, very Republican. They're very, very Republican. Um, and they come out in droves. They come out in record numbers for Republicans. Donald Trump did a lot of people didn't realize that Donald Trump had a real big Latino you know uh push. He had a lot of Latino push. He had Latinos for Trump who are in Florida, who were in Texas, who were turning out votes. So while people were concerning themselves with black folks voting for Trump, right? Particularly black men. Let's put it out there. Particularly black men, while they were focusing their attention on bashing black men for our support, as a you know little that it is, probably what 12%, I think it was in 2016, and it's probably going to be about the same amount this year. When you look at it, probably about 12%, maybe 15%. So while you had black blue checks on Twitter and all these networks bashing black men for their support of Donald Trump, they should have been bashing Latinos for their support in this quote unquote black and brown coalition that does not exist. There is no black and brown coalition. All right. And if you look at these people, when you look at Latinos, when they are illegally in the country, they are against illegal immigration, probably about 70%. They are against illegal immigration. They are against it. They don't believe in it. They don't believe it. They feel that people need to the people that come to this country need to come here legally the same way they did. That's the way they feel.
That's right.
So there is no black and brown coalition. So we as ADOS people got to stop trying to use that language and allowing people to circumvent and bring them into this conversation like their struggle is ours, because they will sit here, and shout out to my boy, Reggie from Boston. He always says this: if you look at Latinos, the first generation is probably more liberal. But as they be here, second gen, third gen, fourth generation, they identify as white and they vote as Republicans. That is what they do. That's what they have been doing. And by all metrics over the years, and I remember when I was studying for my my undergrad, when I was studying poli-sci in my undergrad, we studied the Latino vote, and this was way back in like 1998. We were studying the rise of the Latino vote, and they said that the Latinos were going to be the minority majority by 2030. Minority majority. So if they are the minority majority by 2030, that means that they're going to control politics in this country, and they're going to be Republicans. They're not going to be these liberals that everybody think they are just because we giving them DACA. And we because once they get it, they are going to align themselves with the Republican Party. That is how they have voted. That is their voting trend, and that's the way it is. So while they want to bash black men for supporting Trump, they should have been bashing Latinos, and because they're the ones that are going to decide how this election goes.
So, Mark B, I don't need to interrupt you, and Josh and Friday, I want to get you on the record here on this question, but the production team is telling me we have some breaking news right now. The AP is projecting Biden to win the states of New Mexico and New York. Trump is projected to win North Dakota, South Dakota, Wyoming, New England, Louisiana, and Oklahoma. Okay, so once again, Biden is projected to win by the AP the states of New Mexico and New York, while Donald Trump is projected to win the states of North Dakota, South Dakota, Wyoming, Nebraska, excuse me, Louisiana, and Oklahoma. Okay, so we're getting some updated new election results coming in right now. To the production team, if you could put up the map at a certain point so we can see just what the visual representation looks like. I think that would also help for the viewers also to see what the electoral count is right now. It's Biden 119, Trump 94. So Biden 119, Trump is 92 rather. Excuse me. Biden 119, Trump 92, and of course it takes 270 electoral votes to win the election. So right now Biden's at 119. Trump is at 92. We're still waiting on some big states to give us some of their results. Also, we just had polls closed in places like Texas, and we have had polls closed for over an hour now in Florida. I believe Georgia as well, Pennsylvania. These states are pretty much too close to call right now. The state of Ohio is also not giving us any of the results yet, so we're assuming that means it's too close to call there. Also, the state of North Carolina, which is a state that we're watching very, very closely as well, a state that may decide the election, along with North Carolina, two states that Donald Trump must win in order to remain president. We don't have results yet in either of those states. Some other important states that we just had polls close in, but we don't have results yet. Michigan, Wisconsin as well, the state of Iowa as well. Three states that were very, very important to the 2016 race and the 2016 upset by Donald Trump. So just want to keep you informed here, fam. Breaking news, Donald Trump wins North Dakota, South Dakota, Wyoming, Nebraska, Louisiana, and Oklahoma, while Joe Biden is projected to win the states of New Mexico and New York. Absolutely right. We've got a comment from Roz in the Mickens. Absolutely right. What's up, Roz? Pennsylvania, Ohio, Florida, Texas are the key states. I would add to that North Carolina, Michigan, Wisconsin. For some reason, Iowa is in play this year, even though that's what the polling told us coming in. We don't know what the final results will be, but that's where we are. That's the latest. 114 Biden, 92 to Trump. Let's get back to the conversation around one, the increased Latino vote for Trump, which has been an underreported story. Donald Trump has increased his support among Latinos to some almost 35%, nationally, and key places like Florida, where Donald Trump is winning right now. It's largely probably going to be because if he does win, it's largely probably going to be because of his increased support among Latinos. Whereas over the last several weeks, we've had a bunch of stories and a bunch of press around some perceived increased support for Donald Trump among Black men in particular, but we haven't seen that materialize in any of the polling. We haven't seen that in reality, at least from what we can see so far. Josh, do you have any comments on that?
Yeah, man. I mean, just think about it. If you got to get into a situation where you could, somebody put you on to something and you could make some money, more money than you used to making, and you're like, it's only going to work if we keep these numbers low, right? Then your spot's secure. But if they open it up and they started letting everybody else in, you'd be like, wait a minute, my position ain't so secure. The money I'm making, maybe if all these other people that's desperate and hungry and thirsty to make this money, if they come in, they might drive the price that I'm charging my labor at down. So that's kind of what the thing is. Like, I'm in Northern Virginia, so it's a high percentage of immigrants over here, and it's not mostly like low skilled labor immigrants, mostly high skilled labor immigrants. But I can understand the sentiment of, because even like as ADOS people, we've seen how illegal immigration and people coming over here and focusing their skill sets into like concentrated areas that are areas where it's like a low skilled labor. And then for those of us ADOS people who may still be working in those areas or maybe doing business in those areas, you've seen like the price, the market price for your services might be taking a hit due to the increased labor supply through the illegal immigrants. Let's just talk about it. So what I'm trying to say is the Latinos, if you got over here, why in the world would you want the floodgates to open up for way more people to come over here to threaten, your employment prospects? Or those people are trying to access America. They're not trying to open up for all these other people to access America. And it's the same thing with high-skilled immigrants too. So when we talk about the H-1B visas, like we see over here, those immigrants are not even in favor of an increased immigration. They don't want more H-1B visas. So that's kind of what the alternative party is offering. They came out with their agenda on Joe Biden's website, the agenda for like Indian Americans. And they talking about, I said this at the beginning of the show, removing the per country cap. That is insane. That is insane. We already have 74% of the H-1B visas come from India. The number 2 country is China at 11%. The third highest country is Canada, which is a border nation, at 1.1%. I just seen somebody say in the chat a few minutes ago that they saw a DACA recipient, somebody who was a DACA recipient that's from India. How does that work? So you come over here as an H-1B visa, you have to, for some reason, you go home to India, or you come over here as a guest or something. Somebody how does that happen? And let's understand like what that does to labor. It guts labor, and it's been a serious problem for America. So if these people are even looking, I'm not even saying we forget about access and whiteness, just looking at themselves as like a person trying to have employment prospects in America, and they're thinking about long term. It's something that they see as a serious problem. Now, we also can talk about like a lot of Latinos, and this is saying assuming like first generation or second generation, maybe they may be business owners because they got into the trades that allow them to be business owners. Those people, they may be associated with the Republican Party, period, just because they understand that they have the rugged individualism type of mentality, and the capitalist mentality. I'm going to do it on my own. Those people are not too excited about the prospects of government adding regulation or government taxes and all these different type of things. So it would make sense why. I don't understand why any Democrat would be surprised by Trump having an increased Latino vote. Why does the Democrats platform so embracing of like way over liberalized immigration policy? You think you're pandering to? How are you pandering to people who don't even have a vote? That doesn't make any type of sense.
So I wanted to add something to that too, because this is a part of the it's a question of one politics, right? So let's just be honest and let's just acknowledge the fact that the Democrats don't even want to have this conversation with us, right? They don't even want to have this conversation with us. They don't want to have this conversation at all about what the effects are, negative or positive, of their current immigration policy and politics is. As soon as you start to have this conversation right here in an honest way, right, the Democratic Party will turn off. They will not even engage. And this is a big problem. First of all, with the Democratic Party, is disrespectful to Black folks who are the key voting bloc in the Democratic Party, that you won't even have this kind of conversation with us. At the same time, ignoring the fact that 30% of the Latino vote is going to go to Donald. 1 in every 3. Let's break it down. 1 in every 3 of the vote of the Latino vote is going to go to Trump. Whereas you may think 1 in 10 the black vote is going to go to Trump if you are, let's say the black male vote, right? 1 in 10, okay? But 1 in 3 Latinos are going to go to Trump. You don't want to have that conversation. But as soon as we start to talk about some of the real negative effects of your immigration politics and policy on black folks, ADOS folks, you are allergic to that. And I think we're seeing the consequences of that bad position right now in Florida and in a state like Texas, where they could be doing better than they are, to be honest with you. But if it were not for the large Hispanic population, where 1 in 3 are going to go for Trump, well, then that's hurting the Democrats' chances of turning a state like Texas from red to blue with a large Hispanic population. The reason that the Democrats are not as strong as they could be in Florida right now, is a different Latino demographic in Florida, right? It's a different group, right? It's more of the Cuban population, whereas in Texas it's more of the South American population, right? The Mexican population, right? But in Florida right now, at this very moment, Florida's too close to call. Why is that? And Trump probably has a slight lead. We don't know what the end of the night's going to be, but why is that? Why are you weaker in a state where you should be doing a lot better? It's because you have ignored this part of your politics and your policy, which are very, very bad, not just to in many ways the entire country, but also specifically to your key voting bloc, which is black folks, right? And that's a problem. And I am hopeful, and I think that the Democrats will have to address this post 2020 because we're going to make them. It's no longer okay to throw shade at us, to shame us, to talk down on us for the 1 in 10 maybe black folks who may vote for Donald Trump, while you ignore the 1 in 3 that are going to vote for Trump on the Latino side, and then have specific policy, on day one, right? And day one, Biden said he's going to do something for the Latinos on day one, but he hasn't said nothing about day one what he's going to do for black folks. The reason he is the nominee is black folks. It's not the Latinos. Okay, he won Carolina, and the race changed. He is in the position he's in because of black folks. He gets a lot of love from black folks because he was next to Barack Obama for better or worse, right? This is a problem for the Democratic Party, and we're going to make it more of a problem for them, especially into the midterm 2022, and then also going into 2024. So let me stop there. I don't want to go too much on that. Does anyone else have any comments on this specifically? We got some other things to get to, and then some other to talk about also.
Well, I do because what Josh said and what you said, Chris, is true. This is the conversation that the Democratic Party doesn't want to have with ADOS people, and this is one of the things that we talk about, and sometimes we get called being xenophobic for it. But it's true, and it's true. If you look at the amount of H-1B visas that are being allowed to come into the country, it is asinine, especially when it comes to black black people in tech and in the STEMs, because you got the HBCUs are producing about 80% of the black STEM graduates in the country. HBCUs are, but we only represent 2% of the total tech industry. And that's because we're getting outsourced by people with HV1 visas. Now they come in, they don't get the right to vote, but they get to compete in high fields. So what you have is this influx of black folks who have STEM degrees who cannot find a job in their field. That is the problem. That is a problem, and nobody wants to talk about that because they feel like they don't have to talk about it because black people, by default, this is our fault. ADOS folks, we are a loving people. We are loving people. We are welcoming. We are accepting. We accept anybody, anywhere. Doesn't matter how they came here. We are very accepting, and we have to get very, very particular about how we deal with things because we allow ourselves to get caught up in these so-called quote unquote coalitions and of oppression of everybody but us. And it's always been like that. We bring everybody into our oppression, into us being an oppressive class. We allow everybody to circumvent us and come up under a banner and we accept it. So now we have to be at the point where we got to draw a line. There has to be a line drawn in the sand and say we can no longer tolerate this. We can no longer tolerate these issues. It's nothing. It's the same thing. I made a point on one of my shows one night, and I was like, people don't realize black folks in the South are conservatives. They are conservative in values. They are conservative in their values. You may think that they're liberals, but they are not. So everything that liberals stand for, most black folks in the South don't subscribe to it, but they would not go out and vote for Republicans because they have been conditioned to feel that Republicans are the quote unquote boogeyman, right? And not realizing, and I said it one time, black folks in the South should be Republicans because that's what we were. That's what we were doing during the abolition era. That's what we were coming out of Reconstruction. That's what we were up until about the Civil Rights Act got signed. We were actual Republicans. But because the Republican Party has been deemed to be this racist party, and we don't have a place in what we consider overt racism, we tolerate and we allow ourselves to be bamboozled into covert racism. And we don't realize that we are voting against our own oppression when we do these things. So while we allow the Democratic Party to continue to pander to everybody but us, because they don't show up but every 4 years. They don't come. You don't see these people. You're not gonna see these folks for another three years. And what's going to happen? It's wash, rinse, repeat. Every single year, every single election cycle is wash, rinse, repeat when it come to us. So when we start asking for a black agenda, we start asking for tangible policies for the black community, they don't want to have that conversation with us because they just want us to shut up and vote. And they think that because they can manipulate and continue to say how racist people are, that's gonna play to our subconscious because we have been oppressed in this country for so long by racial issues that we're gonna forget everything else that's going on and just gonna align ourselves and say, okay, we're just gonna come vote. So now what we got to do, which I love about the ADOS movement and what we're doing, is that we're allowing people to really look at policy, look at the systemic issues in the country, and now these politicians don't want to have it. That's why Lindsey Graham is going to win in South Carolina. That's why Cindy Highsmith is going to win in Mississippi, where when if you go back and look at Reconstruction, Mississippi was controlled by black folks until Jim Crow. Until Jim Crow, the politics in Mississippi was controlled by black folks. You had a black governor, black senators. It was controlled by black folks. So now it's been shifted because of Jim Crow, and black folks have been to the point where they're so disenfranchised that instead of them talking to the black issues and trying to turn out the black vote, they would rather try to placate to our emotional side and think that is going to get us out to the polls, and it's not going to do it. It's not going to do it. It's not going to work no more.
No, it's not going to work. And Mark, I'm glad you mentioned Lindsey Graham, and so we want to do a check-in with the Senate races. There were 34 Senate seats up for grabs this cycle. As Mark, you mentioned earlier, the Senate seats are 6-year terms, whereas the House seats are 2-year terms. Right, so every single member of the House of Representatives is up for re-election. All 435 of them up for re-election this year, 2020 and 2022, 2024, et cetera, et cetera. As we mentioned when we were discussing Mitch McConnell's win tonight in the state of Kentucky, the next time we will have a chance to get rid of somebody like Mitch McConnell will be in 2026-ish, right? So so there's a difference between the terms of the Senate and in terms of the House. But focusing on the Senate, just sort of a check-in. Obviously, we do know that Mitch McConnell won his race against Amy McGrath, so he will continue as either Senate Majority Leader or Senate Minority Leader, depending on whether or not the Democrats take the Senate or the Republicans keep the Senate. 75% chance coming into the night that the Democrats flipped the Senate from red to blue. Taking a look at some of the other races that we are focusing on in the Senate. In North Carolina, with 79% of the estimated votes reported, we've got Cunningham up by 1.2%. So that race hasn't been called yet. In the state of Georgia, Purdue is up. We've got with oh, sorry, let me go to Colorado first. In Colorado, we've got John Hickenlooper, Democrat, up by 18 points with about 32% of the votes in. Lindsey Graham in South Carolina, who we just talked about, with 29% of the votes in. He's up by 12 points right now. Lindsey Graham is a very powerful senator, very powerful Republican senator. He's currently up right now 12 points with 29% of the votes in. Tuberville in Alabama is up 10 points with 11% of the votes in. And Susan Collins in Maine is up 24 points right now with only 5% of the estimated votes reported. So that's where we are with the Senate. I'm going to double back and check on the Georgia numbers, and I'll have that as a follow-up update. We don't have any new updates yet with respect to the presidential race as it stands right now. And if the map is correct, please let me know in the production chat. But right now we are still at 114 Biden, 92 Trump. That hasn't changed yet from what we understand. But as soon as we get some updated numbers, we will make sure that the family is updated. And again, that's our Senate check-in. Again, coming into the night, Democrats had a 75% chance of flipping the Senate. Also, some 70-80% chance of keeping the House of Representatives in the blue category under Democratic control. I do want to just by point of information here, and we are about a half hour away from the end of our broadcast. We are very much aware that we would not be able to cover the entire night's results. This has been an amazing broadcast, going on 2.5, almost 3 hours now. So once again, want to give everyone a shout out who's been hanging in there with us. This is our first time doing this, fam. We expect to make this a every election thing, right? So thank you for joining us. Production team is giving me some new information though. Joe Biden is projected to win. This is breaking news. Joe Biden is projected to win Washington D.C. The district is going for Joe Biden. So that is breaking news coming out of D.C. Joe Biden is projected to win. Make D.C. a state, like I said earlier. I'm a big supporter of D.C. statehood. But Joe Biden is projected to win the state. The district of Columbia, Washington, D.C. Let's continue the conversation though. As we round out the hour, we are expecting results to come in from. Let me get my notes up here. And we're expecting the results to come in from around 10 p.m. from 10 p.m. East Coast time from Utah, Montana, Nevada, and Iowa. After that, we expect the West Coast states to start, rolling in with some of our own election results. Idaho, Washington, Oregon, Hawaii, California, and Alaska are expected to close polls around 11 p.m. East Coast time. That's 8 p.m. my time here, so in about an hour and a half. Of course, we will be ending our broadcast at 7 p.m. Eastern time, so in about 25 minutes. Hopefully, in that time, we will get some final results for states like Pennsylvania, states like Florida, Ohio, North Carolina, which are the key states to watch, Michigan as well, Wisconsin, Texas, but we don't have any results for those states as of yet, unless I am missing something. These states are too close to call right now. These are the states that are going to decide the election. Let's not end though without talking about, just in terms of general political education, right? I think everyone here has voted, today. At least everyone here that's been on the panel has voted, whether it was down ballot, however you voted. Can you talk, and this goes to anyone here who wants to start, talk about what your process was. How was it that you came to decide who you were going to vote for, who you weren't going to vote for, what propositions you were going to vote for, what propositions you weren't going to vote for? What was your process? Was it a group process? Was it an individual process? Did you consult with family members? Did you consult with a local ADOS group? Did you consult with a local, political group? What was your actual process?
Well, I think for me, being in Ohio, me and my wife, we basically printed out the actual ballot, right? We printed out our actual ballot, and then we sat down. My son is 18 years old. Like I said earlier, this was his first time voting in a general election. So we wanted to make it a family affair, and so we basically went from the top of the ticket all the way down. And we looked at each individual issue. We looked at each individual's platform, each individual candidate. Reparations in the Black agenda was something that we were looking for with these candidates. And my son, he made it known that he wanted to vote for two particular people because they had worked on some activist things with him. So we honored that and said, okay, we will vote for them because they were working with him on some activist stuff. And then we kind of went down the ticket. We went down the ticket. The judges was something that we really were paying attention to. The judge races were very, very big for us, because while everybody pays attention to the presidency and the Congress and the House and all that, judges have a lot of effect. Even though we don't think about it, but judges they decide what laws are laws. And when they, even though they supposed to be nonpartisan, but they are. So we wanted to make sure that we understood with these judges' positions. We wanted to make sure that we went through looking at their platforms. We looked at who was endorsing them. Obviously, anybody who was endorsed by the Fraternal Order of Police, it was an automatic instant no. That was going to be a no vote off the top, because I don't. The FOP has been probably the biggest detractor when it comes to police reform in the country. So anytime you see a candidate that is endorsed by them, then you know that they're going to be pro-police. So that was one of the things that we looked at. For ballot measures, we had a few levies that were going to add taxes to property taxes. Taxes in Ohio are already high. So we wanted to make sure if we voted for something that was going to raise our taxes, where the money was going to. One particular issue was a levy that we looked at that was going to add increased funding for the public school system in our district, which by and large you say, okay, we need increased funding for education. However, the issue that we have with the school district is that we don't have any equity when it comes to ADOS people. We represent 45% of the district, but yet still we have nobody that looks like us on the school board. There were things that my son's activist group were fighting for to change as students. They wanted some things changed because they recognized the ideas. They recognized that there was racial issues inside the school district. So So for them, they came out and said, if we don't get equity, y'all get no money. So that was their fight. They wanted to say, y'all want increased funding for education. We want equity in the school system. We want more black teachers. We want more black administrators. We want a diversity and inclusion officer added to the school board. And when the school board decided that they didn't want to take on those issues, well, we decided not to vote for to increase my property taxes, because if you can't get my money if you don't want me to have equity in education. So that's pretty much how we came to our our agreements. We, like I said, we had the ballot. We kind of went through and bubbled it. And then we all made sure we understood who we were going to vote for, and then we went into the ballot box, and we voted that way. We
Love
voted
it.
that way as a family,
I
and
love it.
and that's the way we did it.
I love it. So you did it as a family, and you went through each particular decision as a family, and you had discussion and deliberation about it. This is something that you don't hear. You won't hear this kind of talk about how you actually go about making the decisions on a CNN or an MSNBC or even a lot of the other so-called progressive places online who are doing election coverage. You won't get discussion about what the process was, right? And for anyone in the chat, right, and the viewing audience, what are some of the local initiatives that you voted on today, and what was your process? How did you make the decision? Was there a particular ballot measure? Was there a particular election or race, or a set of ballot measures, or a set of elections or races that you focused on, locally, down ballot? And what was your process? This is an important question, and you won't get this kind of question, and you won't get this kind of feedback anywhere else. This is the only place right now having this conversation, at least online, that we can tell. By the way, Josh, before I kick it to you, we do have some breaking news. Joe Biden is the projected winner in the state of Colorado. Joe Biden is the projected winner in the state of Colorado. Excuse me. The West Coast states are starting to come in now with our own election results. Finally, the total count right now with respect to electoral votes is Biden is up at 131. Donald Trump is down at 92. So it's 131 to 92 right now in terms of the Electoral College. Joe Biden is extending his lead. As you can see, there appears to be some separation happening with respect to the electoral map in terms of electoral votes specifically. But breaking news, Biden does now have the state of Colorado under his belt. That blue wall that we all saw in 2016, I don't know if you all remember, in 2016, there was this massive a massive red wall in the middle. So there was a big red wall in the middle in 2016, not a blue wall, a big red wall. That big red wall looks like it's not gonna be the same this year, based on some of the states that have been reporting recently, specifically Colorado. So just want to break in with that. Josh, I want to throw it to you. We did talk a little bit earlier about some of the local initiatives and races that you thought were important, but we didn't talk about your process, right? So what was your process for figuring out how to vote for what and who, or not to vote for this or that? What was your process?
You silent, Josh.
Josh, you muted, fam.
You're on mute.
My bad. I'm so used to not being muted, so I keep forgetting I'm muted. I was saying, my ballot. It sounds like other people's ballots were real complex. Mine was kind of simple. We just had the presidential. We had the House race going on, and of course, Senator for Mark Warner, the Democrat out of Virginia. But it wasn't a whole lot of other things on the ballot. So when I looked at it, I guess we considered being that it's like COVID, we kind of were more conservative as far as spending in the local area in the county. That was our consideration that we put into our voting process. I mean, of course, we look at the presidential situation. We wanted to. Well, I speak for myself. I already understood what I was going to do with that, and I was looking at reparations. No reparations, okay. No black agenda, okay. Giving us your behind the kiss, okay. So I put that into consideration. And then as far as I understand that we would need Democrats in Congress, Republicans are definitely not amenable to our agenda. I'm not really feeling Senator Mark Warner. He is not really, gone nowhere near as far as Northam has tried to go or others. But, it is what it is. His opponent definitely would have been worse off. But like I said, as far as like local, like county issues, we didn't want the county to do a whole lot of new spending on things that we felt that may put us in a situation where we don't know what's going to happen with COVID. So we didn't want to. We didn't like the idea of doing a whole lot of new spending, and except for it was something dealing with, I think, like building new facilities for kids or something. Like, yeah, we need that. Because where we live, it seems like they're trying to retrofit a lot of housing into a place where it used to be more industrial and business oriented. So there's a need for places for kids to play and things like that. So that's just my personal take on the ballot. But if you don't mind, I want to go back to a point I was making. I wanted to add something to it when I was talking about the H-1B visas.
Go for it.
So, I think we look at like populations and we see them as small, but then we don't necessarily have the vision to see how our populations can grow. So the Indian American population, and I don't want anybody to take what we're saying as anything other than just an observation of trends and facts based on data, right? It's not having anything to do with any type of ill feelings towards anybody, because I don't have none. But the fact is that it's an issue when you think about America never doing what it needed to do to fix the problem of the problems of ADOS, the problems of lack of wealth, the problems of under lower percentages when you look at in terms of the national percentage of college education. When you look at in terms of the amount of people that we produce in certain fields and certain degrees, like engineering and computer science, mathematics, and all these different type of things. When you look at the amount of debt that's saddled upon our families when we get in college education, and then you look at the talent pool that employers have to pick from based on those lower numbers, and then you look at the discrimination that's in those fields, then you look at the lack of access to capital that we have as far as getting into the business world, and then you go and look at the wealth level. We can look at I want to say in California, in ADO in LA, the Color Wealth Report, I think it said ADOS or say native black wealth was at 4,000. And I think white American wealth was at, y'all give me the correct numbers. I think it's like 300 and something thousand. And then Indian American wealth is like 480,000. Y'all give me the numbers, but with like 250,000 liquid, right? Then you look in DC. See, I'm from over here, so I can tell you all the numbers right off the top of my head. $3,500 for the ADOS. 384,000 for white Americans. A lot of other Asian groups, Vietnamese, Chinese, Korean, are in the $300,000 and $400,000 range. Indian Americans at the top, 573,000. So, I mean, how is it that other groups can come over and have over 100 times the wealth that we have when we built the country? We've been here since, I mean, how does that we get past and let America not address that? Right. But see, and then how is it that you give them a specific agenda when we've been asking for it? And you don't see any groups of loud Indian American groups all over the internet, asking for justice, talking about Black Lives Matter or talking about we demand our agenda. You don't even see that. But so how do they get their agenda on Joe Biden's website? Well, I mean, obviously Kamala Harris, that's part of it. But I think Indian Americans in 2016 voted for Hillary Clinton, I think at a rate of like 79 to 80%, which is a high amount. That's slightly under Black men, right? And so, and there's been this kind of soft battle between Trump, who's been fighting for support, who supported the Prime Minister Modi of India, and he got Nikki Haley. He put her as the UN ambassador, I think, and of course, you had Bobby Jindal and all these Republicans trying to bring Indian Americans over. But guess what? I mean, so when you look at Kamala Harris and Joe Biden and what they're proposing, it's like giving them specific policy that's going to help uplift their numbers in their group, but it's also targeted. It's strategic because they look at these voters as voters who are high donors, right? They have a large amount. If you look at the amount of money that they have to donate, how much money do you think you can get from people that's worth $3,500 as opposed to people who the middle is worth $573,000, right? So they're donating a large amount of money. So I'm just trying to get y'all to see that you may not think of this as an issue in 2020, just like people didn't think about it in 2010. But in 2030, in 2040, if they open up these H-1B visa country caps, it's gonna be serious. It's gonna be something way more of significance in terms of the political landscape being altered, money in politics, and when we try to get our agenda attained and attended to, it's not going to be as easy. It's only going to get harder unless we get louder, unless we get more ADOS numbers pushing for our agenda and pushing for reparations. But what y'all think?
So I'm actually glad you brought that point up here, and because that's the thrust of the thinking, right? This was the question that I was going to pose as one of the final questions here as we round out our coverage here and pass the coverage on to some of the other folks who are doing coverage for tonight. But what the question was, what does the future of Black politics look like after tonight, right? Whether it's in the short term, medium term, long term, where do we go from here, Black politics wise? What does our Black political future look like post tonight? Assuming a Joe Biden win, which is not at all certain right now, as we can see from the latest numbers, and there's a lot of talk online around this point right now. As I just checked, that this is not the blowout that people were talking about. This is not the Democratic blowout that people expected. There are races that we thought we would be able to call by now in favor of Joe Biden, and in some cases in favor of Trump too, but more reliably for Joe Biden, that we are not able to call right now. So, Mark, I want to throw it to you. What's the future of Black politics look like after tonight?
Well, it's kind of crazy that you asked that. And I know it's like a crazy little plug, but I am writing a book that's going to discuss all of this, right? It should be out, my little plug. It should be out around June of next year when we talk about reimagining Black politics 2020 and beyond. So y'all be on the lookout for that. That's my little plug. But I think what happens is you're going to see a shift, right? Even if the Democrats win, they win the presidency, they take control of the Senate, and now they have pretty much, they already have a majority in the House. I think with the emergence of um, with the emergence of ADOS, and figures like Ice Cube, that are demanding a black agenda, it's going to be very, very hard for Democrats to not take on our issues. It's going to be hard for them not to, because they're going to get challenged. You right? They're going to continue to get challenged on these issues, and if they're smart, then they will listen to the black voters and get and do what they're supposed to do over the next 3 years. If they don't, if they don't, then what I see is um um what I see is a shift to a third party. I don't see black folks jumping on the Republican train. I just don't see it. And I don't think that black conservatives can convince that many black folks to do it. But I can see an emergence of another party. Maybe the Green Party. Maybe it's the People's Party that Nina Turner from Ohio is trying to get up with Dr. Cornel West. Um, I can see people shifting their ideology, because the more people like Yvette and Tone and the Black Civics podcast and Be the Power and all these other black media, these other things, our generation and the generations below don't listen to CNN, MSNBC, and Fox. That is the boomer class. That is older Gen Xers and the boomer class. They listen to that noise coming off of Fox News, CNN, and NBC. Our generation, the younger Gen Xers, millennials, and the Gen Zs are on YouTube. That's where the majority of the information is getting passed at social media. So so as we ascend and get older in our political education, it's going to be very, very hard for Democrats to continue to pander and not deliver, because what they're going to find themselves is what they're going to find themselves having is more Jamie Fowlers showing up at rallies asking for a black agenda. You're gonna have like my brother down in Mississippi that was asking Mike Epsy. You're gonna have people out at megaphones. You're gonna have people like ourselves that are already organizing on the ground that are gonna be bringing more people in, more ADOS people in, and it's gonna create this groundswell where they're not gonna be able to handle it, and they're going to lose that block. They're going to lose that loyal voting block, because the more people are going to be waking up. Now they're going to keep some folks, and some folks are just convinced that they just the Democrats are the best things to slice bread. So you're going to keep some. But I think the majority of educated black folks, those who have educated themselves, who recognize, who can look at political policy, who can understand, who can go on a website, who can go to Congress.gov and pull up a bill, see who's co-sponsoring it. As the more and more that happens, it's going to become a more of a problem. So I see black politics over the next 3 years becoming this force that is going to have to be dealt with, because you can't blame Russia, right? Like, what I'm saying? You can't blame Russia for ADOS. All right, you can't blame Russia for Be the Power. You can't blame
Or Ghana, or
you know what I'm saying?
Ghana.
Ghana, right? Right. But you know what I'm saying? Like you can't blame the Russia for this. All right. It may be disinformation or whatever, but you ain't gonna be able to blame that. So we're not playing that game no more. You know what I'm saying? And anybody who subscribed that Russians had an opportunity to do that with black folks, you should feel disrespected by people that think that you could be manipulated by a foreign power, that like you're not smart enough to be able to discern and be able to understand what's going on. So that's what I feel. I think that they're in trouble if they don't do anything over the next 3 years. I can see the Democratic Party collapsing in 2024.
Yeah, Russia didn't create the racial wealth gap. Russia didn't. Russia is not doing mass incarceration. You know what I mean? Russia is not telling us when we ask for reparations immigrants in the future. Like Russia is not doing none of that. So for them, somebody to blame it on Russia, I don't know no Russians. I ain't talked to none. I ain't been. I talked to you, Chris. I talked to Mark. I talked to Naheem. I talked to Ali and Logic. I don't talk to no Russians. So I don't want to hear nothing about no Russians. We living in America, and Russia didn't do slavery. You know what I mean? Russia didn't do Jim Crow. Russia is not the reason why we live in neighborhoods that are dilapidated. You know, our housing value, the value of our houses only appreciates at like a fraction of a small percentage of than the houses appreciate in white American neighborhoods. So that narrative is tired. They act like we supposed to be just happy in our discontent. We're supposed to be happy in our substandard living conditions. We're supposed to be happy in all these disparities. No, eventually we're going to be ready to tear some stuff up and flip the table. Like, nah, we gotta get some things changed over here. But go ahead, my bad. I ain't mean to interject that. I know we.
No, bro, you were right on cue, and the question was, what's the future?
Yeah.
What's the future after tonight? Whatever the results are, finally, as we round out the hour 10 p.m. here. Well, let me say first, thank you, Josh. Thank you, Mark, Friday, everyone else who joined us today for this amazing election night coverage. Thank you to the audience who hung in there with us. It's our first time doing this. We hung in there for 3 hours strong. It's not easy, but we pulled it off. A great first go at this. Also, shout out to the production team, Tony, Kim, Lucretia, Chanel. Appreciate everybody in the background. Making this thing go. This has been an amazing first election night broadcast, and we will absolutely 100% be doing this again. We want to make this an institution, right? And as Yvette Cardinal says, that one of the things that's important about the ADOS movement's work is to help build a political culture into our everyday lives and to foster a political culture. So this is something that we're trying to do here, right? And then this is something that's built by the folks here in the ADOS community, for the ADOS community, and we will absolutely continue to do this. But the last question was, what's the future of Black politics? If I could, just give my final 2 cents, and then we can go to the final results. Actually, let me get some of the final results in now that we do have. The AP is projecting Donald Trump to win the state of Kansas. So once again, the AP, the Associated Press, is projecting Donald Trump to win the state of Kansas. We are after 10 o'clock on the East Coast. We are not experiencing or not seeing the kind of blowout that we thought we were going to see with respect to the Democrats tonight. That's going to have implications, even if the Democrats ultimately do win the presidency and ultimately do win the Senate. The fact that you didn't blow your opponents out is going to say something, and it's going to be used by the opposing parties and the opposing forces going forward. You can bet that. So we do know something about what the future of at least politics is going to look like in the next year or two. One is going to look like more gridlock in Congress. I don't think the Democrats are going to, when they win the Senate, which I think they will, I don't think it's going to be as easy as they would like to get any transformative legislation through. I think that's going to frustrate a lot of people who voted for Joe Biden and voted for the Democrats, and I think we will see some. We will be rendering a verdict on these kinds of things in 2022 when the midterms come up. I think
Hey,
there are implications tonight. Yeah.
hey, I just gonna say, uh, I just got word from one of my reliable sources that works for the Democratic Party here in the state of Ohio. They feel that Joe Biden is about to carry Ohio. The numbers, the I know we're over, but I said that Joe had to do well in the 7 cities that control it, and Cincinnati had to come through. Well, Cincinnati has come through, and so if Joe Biden carries Cincinnati like he is right now, he's going to win the state of Ohio. So I just wanted to put that out there.
Oh, thank you for that, man. And let's get the last map up too. By the way, let's see what we can see about one, the state of Ohio, but also national, right? What do we know now, right? Where as we end our coverage here, where are we ending? We're ending with Joe Biden with 131 electoral votes and Donald Trump with 98 electoral votes. Obviously, you need 270 to win. We have some states that we haven't called yet. One of them we just talked about. The state of Ohio, which is somewhat of a bellwether for which way the presidency will be decided. Also, the state of Florida, and as well as the state of Pennsylvania. I don't think we have any results from Georgia or North Carolina yet, if I'm not mistaken. Any final results, but these are the states that are going to ultimately decide the election. So pay close attention to Ohio, Pennsylvania, Florida, Georgia, North Carolina. And Michigan and Wisconsin as well. But right now we have a final count for our coverage of 131 electoral votes to Joe Biden's to Donald Trump's 98 in favor of Joe Biden. Fam, I want to give us the last word here. Any final words? Yeah, Josh.
Yeah. Well, I wanted to get your opinion on something. I know we about to close it out. I don't really have too much else.
Bring it on.
So, for let's just say we do Democrat down ballot, right? And let's say Joe Biden still wins. Do you think that, let's say they do exit polls and they show that, hey, the black vote actually declined, or the rate that we expected it to come out, it didn't turn out, do you think that even in that win, they'll be able to look at the surprising numbers or the downtick in numbers in the black vote, or they can break it down by black male vote even? And do you think that will how do you think they'll respond to those numbers? Let's say in the Joe Biden win, and let's say Democrat down ballot, they see that that caused some damage, so we were able to inflict some level of political consequence. How do you think they will respond to that?
I'll take the last question. One, you actually can tell, right? Mm-hmm. So that's how we know that. And for example, in 2016, in states like Michigan, Hillary Clinton lost, by about 2 votes per precinct. 90,000 ballots were down ballot votes. She lost by some 30,000 votes. So you actually can tell who's voting down ballot, or at least how many people are voting down ballot, and you can make some inferences in terms of what the demographic makeup of those people are. So one, it is mobile, it is measurable. Mm-hmm. If it's not exactly measurable, it's able to be approximated with some level of certainty. So one, it is an identifiable quantity. There's 2 answers to the question. One, if the Democrats see it as a rising threat, meaning a threat to what happens in the 2022 midterms and potentially 2024, they will weigh their responses based on what is the most advantageous response for them with the least without giving the least resources. So that's a fancy way to say if they think it's a threat enough and it's in their interest to appease that threat, they will do it. If they think it's a threat enough, but it's not enough that that they would like to appease the threat, they will crush it, or they will try to crush it.
What do you mean by crush it?
They will try to neutralize it
Their campaigns
in some way. They will either attack it directly. And we saw a lot of this, this year. We were called voter suppression this year. They will put down on that voter suppression line. They will find new ways to demonize people who don't vote for the top of the ticket, even though you may vote for every other. I mean, there are 40 things on your ballot, and you don't vote for 2 of them. They will find a way to demonize that, or they will try to compensate for those losses in some other way. So they will divert resources to other communities and other voting populations where they think it's in that they can actually make up ground. That's what I would do, to be honest with you. I would assess the threat, assess our options, and then make a decision based on what that assessment was. And really, if it's in our interests and worth our while to appease the threat, giving the least amount up that we can, we will do that, right? And if it's more in our interest to step on it or try to neutralize it in some way, we would do that. That's what I would do. And I think they're gonna be forced to have to pay more attention to these down ballot voters over the next 2 and 4 years, because that's a lot of what we are going to be talking about over the next 2 to 4 years. It goes right to that question about what the future looks like, right? That's a perfect way to round the conversation out, right? What does the future look like? It looks like Black people, more ADOS people talking about a Black agenda, talking louder about a Black agenda, organizing around a Black agenda, and organizing around political accountability. And that is a threat to the kind of democratic politics that we see today, and the kind of democratic politics that, quite frankly, I mean, to be honest, the race shouldn't be this late. Okay, we're going to go probably into midnight. Still having some results not called. Donald, it shouldn't be this close. The Democrats. I just want to say this to you nationally, if you're listening. It shouldn't be this close. 250,000 people almost, dead. You got a recession, depression level economy. You've got a president who is unpopular, and you're still struggling. You're still struggling to win. Okay? You got problems. Okay, you got problems that go beyond. I mean, even if you win tonight, which I think you will, I think the Democrats will ultimately. I think Biden's going to win ultimately. I think they're going to take the Senate, but I think we're going to be right back here in 2022 and 2024. And if the Democrats want to change that, they need to get around a Black agenda. They need to get around a reparations agenda, and they need to do it now because it's only going to get worse for them going forward. So, fam, if we could end it there, it's a great question. Thank you for posing that. Marcus, so let's get some final words though. Any final words, final thoughts? Marcus, something?
I'll just say this: Lindsey Graham has won South Carolina. So all that money that they pumped in trying to get behind Jamie Harrison didn't make any sense. Like I called that. I knew that Jamie Harrison didn't stand a chance in hell of winning that race down there. It was a waste of time to even consider him. They should have found somebody white to run in that race. But South Carolina is going to do what South Carolina does. There's just not enough Democrats in South Carolina to even flip a seat. So to think that people were going to white folks who may be disenfranchised or don't like Lindsey Graham were going to give up a Senate seat to a Black man, this don't make any sense. Like we have to be smart about politics and we have to get smarter about politics, right? Also, I thank everybody for tuning in. Thank you, Chris, for hosting this. Thanks to Black Civics Podcast. Josh, my brother from VTP, thank you for coming on tonight. Be on the lookout for my book. I'm gonna plug it. You know, so
I didn't even know
like
you was
I
writing a
said,
Oh
book,
yeah.
man.
hey, my book is gonna be coming out. It's not gonna be expensive as hell. It's only gonna be $15.
I know it's coming after the book.
Yeah, it's good. Hey, I gotta put the plug in for my book, right?
I know it's coming after books.
What's it gonna
So
be called?
it's the book is called Daring to Be Different, reimagining black politics in the 21st century. So that's so I'm gonna it's going I'm
Fire.
gonna go into historical context about the black vote coming out of Reconstruction and bring it forward. Each chapter is going to be something crazy. I'm talking about mass incarceration, you know, the cocaine cowboys, the war on poverty. It's going to talk about all this stuff in the evolution of black politics in America. So um, I got 2 chapters already pretty much written already. I'm just finishing it out with my historical context. So, you know, it's gonna be out. So, you know, support. You know, I'm only gonna have it's gonna be I'm going through Amazon to be the distributor. But I'm gonna have books on staff. So if you buy one from me, then it's gonna be a signed copy. But thank you all so much for tuning in, and I'm about to go finish watching this and go upstairs with my kids and watch the election with them because they upstairs like
Word.
I hear them up there screaming right now. So
Josh,
Sound
any
like
final
fire to
words,
me.
man?
Sound like fire to me, man. Hey, I look forward to when that book come out. You know, man, I just want to say thank you to all of y'all. Thank you to Mark, Chris, Friday, or my brother Ali that was on, and everybody on the back, Tony Tech. You know, Marcus, everybody, and those who wanted to come on and didn't make it on. Everybody in the chat. Hey man, it's funny. It's like we did all of this advocating and fighting and Twitter wars and going in on different social media posts and calling politicians and demanding this. Man, we did a whole lot. We fought. We put in so much mess, man. We put up with so much mess coming from our own people out of their ignorance. We put up with stuff coming from like mainstream media, talking heads. We put up stuff from newspaper columnists. We put up this kind of stuff, man. And I mean, it's just kind of like a milestone right here. So we're just gonna keep it moving and move to the next milestone. And hey, I look forward to continuing to build, and hopefully we'll be much bigger and stronger next time.
Beautiful, beautiful way to end it, fam. I'm gonna say no more, except to say, like, share, subscribe to every single platform represented here tonight, and thank you to the ADOS community, ADOS family. You know, we are building, right? We're here to build. That's our charge, and we take it seriously. Have a great night, fam. And check out all of the other broadcasts going on right now. I think Be the Power's on right now too. I know
I'm gonna hop on with them.
there's Yvette Carnell coming on too, or it's on right now too. So check out that too. I don't know if Tone's doing something right now, but if he is, check that out. ADOSCA Media is coming on later on tonight in about an hour and a half or so. So check that out too. We're going to continue the coverage and have a great night, fam. Thank you.